Okay, I've gained viewers. Okay, people, the anticipation. Okay, hi everyone, welcome to a live stream. Today we've loaded up CK3 A Game of Thrones. So, for those who don't know, CK3, Crusader Kings 3, it's a paradox strategy game. Players different characters. And A Game of Thrones mod is an amazing, beautiful mod where they've made Westeros and Essos, and they're making their way through Essos with each update. And you can play different characters and dukes and counts and kings and barons and all that stuff. It's really fun. And there was a recent update where they added Bravos, which is cool. But in this live stream, I'm not going to be playing or even doing what I used to do for old school fans, where I used to have like Robert's Rebellion on, but I'd go in observer mode and I'd just watch the chaos unfold, and we'd see which characters died, which ones took over, you know, different schemes that happened while I answered questions. It's been a while since I've done that, and people have been calling for that, but that's not what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now is we're going to be breaking down the religions, because in this recent update, the religions were revamped, so we're just going to break them down, and that's going to be fun. Hopefully it'll be fun. I'm still trying to... God damn, that was a boomer moment. Just to clarify, I was not talking for like 10 minutes on mute. Like, within the first minute, I was seeing comments saying, you're muted, and I was just trying to work out what was going on. But there we go. I think it's because my Streamlabs had an update, and it messed up the audio or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Oh, yes, super chat. Awesome. Oh, yes, if you have any questions or theories, or you just want to support the channel, feel free to send in a super chat, or feel free to send in a Streamlabs donation. The link is in the description. 100% of what you send goes to me via Streamlabs, so YouTube doesn't take a cut. So it's up to you. Our first super chat is from Uncle Beastie. Thank you very much. Who says, "Hey Haven, what's Grey Worm's favourite Queen song?" The Invisible Man. I don't get it. I don't get it. Am I missing something? What am I missing? Grey Worm's not invisible. He's not invisible just because he's missing his peen, is he? That's not fair. Am I missing something? I'm quite musically illiterate, so I don't don't know what's going on. I don't know what that joke is. That's a good start to the stream. That was fun. That's hi everyone. So everyone's coming. Everyone's returning to the stream now that I'm actually talking. All right. Shall we get on with it? Okay. So, you can click on the religions here and it will show you their beliefs and their holy sites, what their sins are, what their virtues are, what their core tenets are, and then the doctrines and all that stuff, and who their current head is. But we'll go on other faiths for now. We'll go on religion, and we're going to go through them religion by religion. So these are a mixture of religions from the book, plus some cool ideas that I think the devs have come up with based on, you know, scraps of information from the world of Ice and Fire and stuff like that. So this isn't 100% canon to the books. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so when we sort it by religion, we start off with the faith of the mother. I haven't gone through these, so I might not even know like what some of them are referencing. But I've done a little browse. I've done a quick skim. But yeah, starting with the children of Mother Rhoyne. So, the religion of the Rhoynar is one centered, just as the entirety of their civilization, upon the river Rhoyne. The river is the chief goddess, the mother of all other deities and peoples, and it is she who the Rhoynar look to. So the Rhoynar, of course, are the ethnic group who fled the Valyrians, and they ended up fleeing to Westeros. Queen Nymeria and her 1,000 ships fled to Dorne specifically. At this point, Dorne was occupied by the Andals, or sort of a First Man Andal mix. And then the Rhoynar came and took it over, and the House of Nymeros married into the House of Martell, which was actually an Andal house. And so Dorne's a kind of a mixed ethnicities, mixed cultures, but quite Rhoynar dominant, and that's why they stand out so much from the rest of Westeros. Quite a few inspirations, sort of like, you know, a bit of East Palestine, a bit of Moorish Spain, you know, the sort of if we see the Rhoynar as the Moors coming into southern Spain. Obviously a bit of Wales there in terms of the marches and the constant wars and so on. But yes, the children of Mother Rhoyne. So yes, they worship Mother Rhoyne, which is the river. And what are their tenets? Their tenets are passive. Oh wait, hold on. How many? Wait, let's just. 3 counties follow this. 3 counties. So where are they? Can we find them? Aha. This little island, this tiny island in the Stepstones, follows this. That's a nice little touch. That's a cute little touch, because of course the Stepstones were like, that's the shattered arm, the land corridor bridging Westeros to Essos. Cool. So their tenets are pacifism, esotericism, ritual celebrations, bounties of the river, and holy water. Oh, that's quite funny. So some of these are more kind of general traits, like I think some religions will probably have esotericism, but bounties of the river is quite specific. From the river, mother to us all, come all the bounties we need, the skill to make metal, the water to feed the crops, the goods to furnish our cities, and the weapons to defend our homes. And then holy water, yeah, they believe that the river is holy, right? The river is their goddess. And their main doctrines, one true faith, so that they don't believe in any other, they don't believe in any kind of pluralism. Equality between the men and women, of course. What the devs have done here is they've kind of mixed Dornish culture with this religion to explain why Dornish culture is so different. Righteous. So I think the different kinds of doctrines here, they're sort of pluralistic, fundamentalist, and righteous. Righteous is in the middle. Theocratic, encouraged, yes. So yeah, we have marriage-type concubines, same-sex relations accepted, adulteries accepted. So this is kind of Dornish culture, more open sexually, and in terms of gender equality than the rest of Westeros. And yes, the sins are sort of, wrathful, greedy, lazy, interestingly, and they're diligent. Their virtues: being calm, being just, being diligent, being wise. Yeah, classic stuff. Apologies for the plane coming overhead, as always. So yeah, but of course, as you can see, only 3 counties worship it. And the 3 counties, one is in the Stepstones, and then there's a couple up here. Let's check them out. Wait, we gotta go counties, I think, even. How do we open up the counties? Oh, Control A, there we go. So, these people... Oh, wait, no. All the way here. Yeah. Okay. And then this. So it's just this very, very small, tiny, almost extinct religion. Because, of course, in Dawn, they've integrated to the faith of the Seven. As you can see, let me get it up. There we go. Shout out to Duran. Yeah, faith of the Seven. But that's not what we're looking at right now. We're looking at children of Mother Rhoyne. But interestingly, there have been some little additions thrown in. So we have orphans of Mother Rhoyne. So with the loss of their home, so too have the Rhoynar lost their goddess, Mother Rhoyne. This has shaped their worship in untold ways. No longer is the mother present and connected. Rather, the children are now orphans, and the memory of their mother is all that sustains them. Interesting. Again, 3 counties. Those 3 counties are in Dawn itself. Late Bloom, Norandin, and Planky Town itself. So this seems to be a sort of more nomadic. So the main religion is worshipping Mother Rhoyne. This is an offshoot where it's we're Dornish. We no longer live by the River Rhoyne. We're scattered orphans, but we hold on to our old faith. As nomads, we are not nomads, but as a displaced people, we are now living somewhere else. We have not integrated to the faith of the Seven. So what do they believe in then? Mother Rhoyne, yeah. They still believe that the Mother Rhoyne is a supreme goddess. They believe in faith syncretism. So they kind of accept the 7 who are one. So they accept the faith of the 7, but they still kind of hold to their past customs and beliefs regarding Mother Rhoyne. of course, all the doctrines and so on are very similar to the main Rhoynish religion. And their tenets: secret tongue. Our words are precious, and our tongue is sacred. It is not for the heathens and unbelievers. So they have a secret tongue that's only for those who continue to worship the Mother Rhoyne. Bounties of the river, yeah. Sanctioned false conversions. Interesting. So if your life is threatened, it's acceptable to confess a false faith as long as you keep the truth in your heart. So this is basically, you can pretend that might link in with the syncretism, then it might not be authentic. It's like, we're pretending to worship the faith of the seven, but deep down we still worship Mother Rhoyne. That's a fun little, that's a fun little thing. And there's one more in this mother faith, and that's children of Mother Summer. And 0 counties follow this. So no one currently follows this in the mod. Bear in mind that there are different timelines, different bookmarks. This bookmark is specifically the crowned stag. So this is after Robert. This is 284 AC, after Robert has won the throne. And in terms of Essos, we have Mir, Lys, Tyrosh, Pentos, Bravos. We don't have the rest of Westeros yet, so yeah, it's not a full picture, both in terms of the timeline and the map, but for now it says 0 counties follow this. But what is it? It says, while Mother Rhoyne is the source of all, with the loss of her flourishing waters, her children have turned to worship her other children, specifically the summer gods. So this is an offshoot of the religion that worships the quote-unquote the summer gods, as opposed to the Mother Rhoyne, because the Mother Rhoyne, they're like, we don't worship, we're not there anymore, we've lost her flourishing waters, we're going to worship something else. So let's have a look. Okay. While Mother Rhoyne birthed all, it is her children, the summer gods, that now guide and nurture us. Yeah, okay. The summer gods and their followers are a peaceful and industrious group, and thus we will honour their rites and traditions. Okay, so they believe in pleasures of the flesh as being as transcendent. They believe in the sanctity of nature. Yeah, okay. So the summer gods. Let me look that up. Are there summer gods in canon? I probably should have looked at this in advance and actually prepared it. Are there summer gods in canon, or have the devs introduced something fresh where they're like, this is like another aspect of their religion that hasn't been explored, where they're, yeah, okay. Let me know in the chat. There's going to be a lot of stuff I probably just don't remember from the lore. It's been a while since I read World of Ice and Fire. Summer Islands? No, this is specifically relating to the Rhoynar. Interesting. But yeah, let's go back to religion. So those are the faith, that's the faith of the mother. Next we have something called the faith of the chosen. Interesting. The faith of the chosen. And that seems to be the only one. So 0 counties follow this. Let's see what this one is. The symbol is a purple flower. Upon Narth, so this is the religion of Narth. But of course Narth has not been created yet in the mod. Whereabouts would it be in the map? Let's just double check. You know I love to do 0 research. Where is Narth meant to be? Remind me. Yes, it's to the east of the Summer Isles. So here are the Summer Isles. I believe Narth is here. Oh, yeah, Narth is this bad boy right here. That's where Missandei is from, of course. In the book, she's a child and she has golden eyes. They seem to have sort of olive skin and golden eyes, I believe. And her brother Marslan is a freed slave who commands the Mother's Men, I believe, which is a kind of a company of freed slaves in Meereen. Check out the Battle of Fire video, etc. I see. Wait, so let's have a look. Yes. So upon Narth, the great butterfly god, the Lord of Harmony, protects his people. When raiders, corsairs, and pirates pillage the isles for slaves and other goods, it is the god who protects his people through the butterflies of the island and the diseases they spread to keep out foreigners. So that's interesting because Narth is quite a peaceful place, and the reason it can afford to be peaceful is because there's a species of butterfly that is basically toxic to everyone except the inhabitants. So apart from the Narthi ethnicity, anyone else who comes in, I guess if they interact with the butterflies in any way, they they die, right? They get some horrible disease, which is what makes the ending of Season 8 of Game of Thrones extra funny. The fact that Davos was like, hey, in Missandei's name, why don't you travel to Narth? Grey Worm and the Unsullied. Travel to Narth and retire in a nice, sunny, tropical place. And it's like, the implications, they're all just going to die. You know what I mean? Like, they're all just going to travel there and die. Like, Davos has accidentally massacred thousands of Unsullied. Anyway, but yeah, so it makes sense that they would, I'm going to have to be double checking here if how many of these religions are canon and how many of them have been created by the devs. Let's have a look. I don't see anything about... Yeah, it's known as the Isle of Butterflies. I don't see anything about... Let's have a look. Oh, you know, they do, in fact, yes. They believe in the Lord of Harmony. Yes, that is canon. According to this is Wiki of Ice and Fire. The Lord of Harmony is regarded as the only true god by the Narthi. He's represented as a laughing giant, naked and bearded, and attended by swarms of slender maidens with butterfly wings. My goodness. He made the moon, the stars, the earth, and all the creatures. And his spirits, the butterflies, protect Narth from those who would do the Isle harm, and they spread the butterfly fever for those who are not Narthi. Cool, yes, so that's fun. And Daenerys learns about this from Missandei during a Storm of Swords. So that's cool that they have a specific species that protects them, and so they've created a god around this species. Oh, I don't know, maybe the Lord of Harmony is real. We don't know, maybe it's a real god. The tenets are a communal identity. So, yeah, faith and culture are intrinsically linked together. Pacifism, violence is an abhorrent act that only leads to suffering, pain, and regret. It makes sense that they'd be pacifist, right? That they are a pacifist people, and they are protected by their environment. Pastoral isolation, they want to be left alone, yeah. Shield of the seas, yeah. And peace of the butterflies. The Lord of Harmony honours peace above all else, and the faithful know not to break his sacraments. No should be spelt K-N-O-W, actually. That's a mistake. Delete the mod. They know not to break his sacraments in the pursuit of personal glory, and in return he protects the faithful. Cool, and what are their virtues? Calmness, compassion, and forgiving. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's cool, and that's the only one of its type. I believe we got some super chats. Let's jump in. Oh, quite a few super chats. Thank you for the super chat from Kelly Johnson, who says, Fantasy Haven fears the fists of Glidus. I do indeed. Well, I fear nothing. I fear nothing. You know why? Because I won. I won Glidus's incredible Jeopardy. For those who don't know, I'm sure you all know, but just in case there's like 2 people who don't know, on Glidus's channel he did a cool little April Fool's Jeopardy game, and it was me, Quinna GM, and Michael Talks About Stuff, and we played a fun game of batshit insane Jeopardy, and somehow I won, even though I feel like I fucked up almost all the questions. So that was lots of fun. I got loads of newcomers to my channel after that video came out, so that was really cool. Thank you for the super chat from Olbing Elias, one of my patrons. How you doing? Who says, Gefreiter Olbing, reporting for duty, Sir Haven. Gefreiter Olbing, it is an honour that you are watching my live stream. No doubt you've just finished a day of training, I believe. This is one of my patrons. I think he's in the Austrian military, so I like to imagine you and the boys are all geared up, suited up. You just had a run, you just had a little training session, now you're relaxing with Haven. Thank you again for the super chat from Uncle Beastie, who says, Grey Worm was invisible. Oh, yeah, okay, I get it, yeah. Okay, the Invisible Man joke earlier, I didn't get it. I was like, am I missing something here? Uncle Beastie's reminding us, Grey Worm was invisible in your Battle of Fire video at the 7-11 mark. Yeah, despite the fact I spent ages on that Battle of Fire video, and I think it went well, by the way, people liked it, but I spent a long time on that video, and I did lots of fun characters, lots of animation. I went through it several times. Somehow I missed, at one point, I think I accidentally deleted Grey Worm. So there's a bit when I'm like, Grey Worm and the Unsullied blah blah blah, and it's just like a random background. It's just a wall. And all the comments were roasting me about Invisible Grey Worm. Yeah, I think that happened to another part of the video where I talk about Barristan training Tumco Low and Larrick the Lash and the Red Lamb, and I think I accidentally deleted one of them or forgot to add one of them, so it's just like a blank space when I say their name. That's annoying. It's annoying to have like tiny little mistakes in your videos, but it's too late to like take it down. That being said, good thing about little mistakes in a YouTube video, you get comments. You get people who want to call you out, and boom, good for the algorithm, but not intentional. Another super chat from Kelly Johnson, thanks very much, who says, do you think George R. R. Martin will address the Danes being from GEOTD? Alright, Great Empire of the Dawn. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm very much in the camp of Great Empire of the Dawn is fun world building that doesn't really have anything to do with the main books. Or if it does, it'll be tangentially. The Danes are a mystery in terms of... Didn't we learn from Elio and Linda that there's a Dane family tree that hasn't officially been released? That's the most curious thing to me. Like, why do they have an unreleased family tree? What's in the family tree that's potentially a spoiler, or I don't know. But yeah. Hopefully if Winds comes out, we will learn more about the Danes. Yeah, that'd be cool. How are we doing? Oh, hold on a sec. Let me refresh this. No, not going to refresh. Just going to... Okay, sure. You could... Elias, you cannot tag me and hit me with Austrian. I'm not going to be able to read that. Let me do my best. Österreicher Militär im Fantasyhaven Chat ist auch weit weg vom Erwartungswert. How was that? Probably terrible. Oh, Flippy in a chat said, I think Elio mentioned something about the Great Empire of the Dawn not being that important recently-ish. David would like bring it on Suicide Watch. I haven't checked the chat, actually. How you doing? Yeah, this is an early stream for me. I used to do, back like 2 years ago, I used to do CK3 Observer streams at like 4 p.m. UK time. But I then started doing later live streams because I have a big American audience that I want to capture. But hey, you guys are probably Europeans, right? Most of you, so showing you some love as well. Okay, let's continue. We are moving on to Faith of the Churches. Interesting. Faith of the Churches. Starting with the 0 counties, so these must be parts of Westeros that have not been created yet by the devs. At the top we have Church of the Fish Gods. Oh my goodness. The Church of the Fish Gods is the predominant form of worship in the Thousand Isles. Ah, I see. The men there are said to be fish-like, with green skin, webbed digits, and sharp teeth. They worship gods similar to the terrifying fish said to dwell deep below the waves, and speak to their servants through dreams. Okay, very, very Lovecraftian. Very strange. So the Thousand Isles. Let's double check this. Yeah, no, A Song of Ice and Fire, not the St. Lawrence River, thanks very much. Yes, it's the archipelago in the eastern shivering sea off the north coast of Essos. Where's the shivering sea? I'm not gonna lie, it's up here? Is it to the north of Essos? I thought the Thousand Isles was to the south. Am I going crazy? Oh, yes, no, yeah. Right. Bro, I'm exposing myself. I have not looked at map stuff, World of Ice and Fire stuff in ages, in a good... Where is the Thousand Isles, though? It's not this, is it? That's not a... That's 4 isles. That's not much of an archipelago. Or is it, like, beyond the map? So, oh, it's above the plains of the Jogos Nye. Huh. What am I missing here? I think it's up here, right? Covered by the Warhammer, so it's not exactly... Right? I'm not going crazy? Yeah, I'm not going crazy. Yeah. It's okay. So the Thousand Isles would be here. But here instead we have a bunch of rubies and a Warhammer as like, you know, each bookmark has a little thing that kind of represents. Yeah. So we may see it in the future, but not right now. But it would be over here, the Thousand Isles, in the Shivering Sea to the north of Essos. All right. And according to the law... Oh, don't move there. Don't say that. According to the law... yes, the folk that dwell are xenophobes. Yeah, they're just kind of lonely people. They're scared of outsiders. They're hairless and have green tinged skin. The females file their teeth into sharp points, and the males slice the foreskin of their members. Shocking. They sacrifice sailors to fish-headed gods. There we go. Yes. So that's some creepy World and Vice and Fire stuff. Might not be canon. Could be the Maesters. You know, the idea that the further away a piece of land is, the crazier the stories about them, because they're so undiscovered that rumors beget rumors, and it kind of spirals into like, oh, they're evil fish people and they eat babies and all this stuff. Like, you know how you have medieval maps and there are areas that hadn't been explored and it says here be dragons and so on. Someone in the chat said sounds like Birmingham. I thought it sounded familiar. So cool. So what they've done is they've taken this idea of fish-headed gods from the Thousand Isles, and they've gone, boom, the Church of the Fish Gods. So the fish gods are some of the great deities who lie below the waves. The men of the Thousand Isles believe they are the progenitors of their race. So what tenets have they been given? Ancestor worship. Well, yeah, if they believe they're descended from the fish, that makes sense. Human sacrifice. Yes, the World and Vice and Fire says that they sacrifice wayward sailors to the waves. Megalithic constructions. Worship should not be done merely in the confines of a temple. These are the primitive constructions of man that distracts them from the divine creation surrounding us all. We embrace stone and the open air, arranging the stones the Creator gave us in ways which... Okay, interesting. Yes, that links into the oily black stone, of course. All the weird Lovecraftian elements of the lore seem to involve oily black stone in some way. Those who hold with strange and dark gods, regardless of the original creed, are drawn to the oily black stone. And then blasphemous sacrifice. Ooh. Take humanity to the extreme. So they're really playing up this, the Thousand Isles being this weird, cold, creepy, fishy place that everyone's scared of. Deviancy accepted. This might be the only religion that has the deviancy trait as being accepted. Slavery accepted. Adultery is shunned though. That's a step too far. Okay, and then... Okay, that's fun. That's a fun one. Oh, thank you for the super chat from Danielis Savrovas. Oh, sorry. Danielius Savrovas. My bad. Why do I even try? Who says, I'm so excited for nomadic DLC for CK3. Would love to see Dothraki in a Game of Thrones. Also hope that China DLC will add a lot of stuff for future Essos updates. Yeah, I don't know the... I do know a couple of devs, I guess. Not closely. But I don't know what they're working on in what order. You know, we've got the entire western coast of Essos done now, which is obviously pretty cool. Lys, Tyrosh, the disputed lands, the Stepstones, Pentos, Bravos, the ragged states of Andalos, I guess. So I don't know if they're gonna gradually sweep eastwards, or whether they're gonna jump in and be like, boom, the Dothraki steppes, or jump over to Yeti and the Isle of Leng, etc. But I don't know. But it's gonna be very exciting because, yeah. But bear in mind the game's been out for a couple of years, and so far they've, you know, really, really worked hard on Westeros, and they've got some really awesome bookmarks, and they've got only this much of Essos done. So it takes a lot of time and effort. Because they're doing this for free. The devs do this for free. They don't get paid, I don't think. Yeah. Okay. let's continue. So, what else do we have? Another church. So these aren't, the faith of the churches aren't linked. It's more that these are all the religions that are given the title, the Church of something. So, Church of the Bloodless. The worship of the bloodless men beyond the five forts is centered on the bloodless, a monstrous deity imprisoned deep below their lands. Despite its captivity, it speaks to its followers in dreams. One day, they hope to free it. That is metal as fuck. Okay, so that's so the five forts again. I think that's covered up, right? Let me just double check. But the five forts is kind of like the Far Eastern version of the Wall and the Night's Watch. It's a bunch of they defend the sort of, I guess, the east of Yeti or the northeast of Yeti from what's known as the land of the Shrikes and the Grey Wastes and like the city of Kadath, which is a reference to Lovecraft. The further east you go, the more Lovecraft references you get, like Kadath and Carcosa and stuff like that. Lovecraft and Yellow King references. And some people theorize that the five forts are kind of meant to be like the Yeti Night's Watch, and that the Grey Waste is their equivalent of the Land of Always Winter, and that there are like Eastern White Walkers or something like that. That's kind of a fun idea. But yeah, let me look up the five forts. Let's see. Yeah, so the northern boundaries of the Golden Empire of Yeti. Of course, fused Blackstone, naturally. This is the Church of the Bloodless, though, so it's the bloodless men beyond the five forts. The bloodless men. I'm double checking how much is. Yes, cities of the bloodless men. Yeah, the mountains of the Morn. Claimed to be inhabited by people as pale as the dead. Okay, so let me just one more time, just to double check. Yeah. Okay, so this looks like, so we know that there are cities of bloodless men, and so what the devs have done is they've taken this and they've gone, okay, what if they worship a god known as the Bloodless? Excuse me for a sec. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, there we go. The Bloodless is known for his voracious hunger and requires sacrifice. God damn. So they've come up with this concept. Again, unless this is in the books, please let me know if it's not. But they worship monstrous deity imprisoned deep below their lands. Despite its captivity, it speaks to its followers in dreams. So they literally believe in a god under their feet that talks to them in dreams that they want to free. That sounds quite Lovecraftian. That might even be a specific Lovecraft reference. I haven't read any Lovecraft, but I do have the Necronomicon on my shelf that I need to explore at some point. Damn, imagine animated Lovecraft. Anyone on the Fantasy Haven? Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So they believe in human sacrifice, sacrificial ceremonies, bring people closer to the divine. Megalithic constructions, that's because, I guess, oily blackstone, fused blackstone, there's some weird thing there. Blasphemous sacrifice, ooh. And blood is the life. Only through blood can power truly be grasped. So yeah, that's cool. That's some cool, weird stuff. These are a bunch of religions that the devs are creating, that they're making in advance, right, with a revamp in anticipation of fleshing out Essos in the future. It's a nice little treat. A Church of the Yellow Sign. Let's move on. So yeah, all this church stuff appears to very specifically be Far Eastern stuff. This appears to be Far East. That hasn't been unlocked yet. Another of the dark gods chained deep below. Oh, quite similar to the Bloodless one, I guess. It is said to be a great watcher of all history, knower of all, and is sometimes called a king in Carcosa. Dark and terrible deeds are perpetuated in its name, and the yellow sign would hide his true name from anyone except his followers, dooming anyone else who looks at it. So, this is the religion of the city of Carcosa. So, Carcosa is, yes, a legendary city in far eastern Essos, it says here. And it's ruled by a yellow emperor. Yes, so this is a reference to the King in Yellow. I think it's a reference to a few things. Let me check. Oh, it says here on the wiki. That's nice. It's a reference to a city in An Inhabitant of Carcosa, which is a short story by Ambrose Bierce. Cool. And then The King in Yellow, which is a short story. Yeah, from what I remember, The King in Yellow is a book about a book. It's like a short story about a story called The King in Yellow, and it makes you go insane if you read it. And yeah, cool. So it's kind of a blend of King in Yellow and Lovecraftian stuff, as I've said before. And you know, Carcosa is taken there, and it's. I think I remember there's an interview where George says that like his publishers were like, hey, flesh out the map, make a bigger map. And he was like, okay, I'll make the rest of Essos. We're never going to visit here, but I'll throw in some cool ideas. So we threw in like Carcosa and these different. He threw in this stuff that he didn't think anyone would get because it was so niche, and it's kind of become less niche over time. Yeah, but yeah, there being a yellow emperor, of course. Yeah, that's a reference to the King in Yellow. I remember doing a Call of Cthulhu when my first year of university. I did a Call of Cthulhu. A tabletop RPG, and one of the stories involved a play edition of The King in Yellow that was being viewed by the king, and we had to King George. We had to make sure that we scuppered it so that we could stop the audience from going crazy. Cool. All right. The yellow sign, the god hidden behind the yellow sign sees all. So yeah, the devs have taken this and merged in a little bit of outside lore, and so boom, there's another hidden god. Okay, it's one, yeah, so unrelenting faith, human sacrifice, yeah, all of this stuff that just makes it seem very weird and esoteric and hardcore. Honestly, I've just been rambling for the last 5 minutes. I'm sure there are people in the chat who are explaining things better than I can. This is why I should have looked at this in advance and studied. Barristan videos going up in views, good to see. Yes, Barry did very well. My channel is having a little, like a third wind right now. Yeah, someone in the chat said, if I recall correctly, bloodless, winged, and skeleton dudes in the eastern part of Essos are just random things made up by George R. R. Martin to fill up empty space. Yeah. Yeah, people are right. George didn't go into lots of detail. He just took some Lovecraft inspo and some short story inspo and threw in some weird esoteric sounding stuff, and then the devs have taken that and been like, what's some fun things we could add to this, Yeah, okay, so moving on, the Church of... Oh, and Carcosa is like all the way in this, I think, in this area that's unseeable. The Church of Unknown Dreams. Deep below, in an ancient and cyclopean city, a dead god dreams. These dreams touch his followers and lead them to break the chains and bindings of morality and sanity, or so the Church of Unknown Dreams claims. That is... God damn, that's fire. That is fire. Another dark god underground worshipped by sacrificial lunatics. Okay, the weird esoteric eastern cities continue to intrigue. Okay, so that's fun. So this is a dead god underground, and its dreams reach its followers, and encourages them to become insane. So basically, a religion built around schizophrenic people. It looks like. Is this? Where is this meant to be? I will look up Church of Unknown Dreams. If there are any CK3 devs in the chat, feel free to correct me on a bunch of stuff. Church of Unknown Dreams doesn't seem to be linked to A Song of Ice and Fire, and it doesn't clarify where it's meant to be. Maybe, I guess, just another esoteric Far Eastern religion. Ooh. Adorcism. That's the spirits. Okay, believing in spirits, human sacrifice, god kings, etc. That's cool. Honestly, you know, I want to get into writing. Want to write some cool books. I definitely have a fantasy saga planned out, and well, not planned out, but I've got some ideas, you know. And I do have an idea in my thing of worshipping a dead god. I've always been a fan of that, the idea of a god dying and being worshipped. So, underground dead god. That's low-key my idea, but that's fine. I won't sue. But yeah, this doesn't seem canon, but it'll be interesting to see whether this is specific to a region in Westeros or whether it's just going to be an underground cult in some weird disparate counties throughout the east. Fishman Frank said, this is a reference to In the Mouth of Madness, no? Let me look it up. So, as I've said, I have not... That sounds like... what's In the Mouth of Madness? That's a John Carpenter film. Is it based on anything? In the Mouth of Madness is a film inspired by Lovecraft and takes its title from At the Mountains of Madness. So I don't know if, Frank in the chat, I don't know if you're referencing the film, the Carpenter film, or whether you're referencing the original Mountains of Madness. I've not read any Lovecraft, so I can't draw really specific comparisons, but yes, it does sound... All of the church religions in this mod appear to be specifically referencing the esoteric Lovecraftian stuff. But yeah, let me know more in the chat. Let me know more. Be my my hive mind, my consciousness. Yeah, right? Dead god dreams is such a metal sentence, exactly. Like a dead god dreaming and sending its dreams to its followers to break the shackles of their sanity and morality. Like, that's insane. That's cool. Thank you for the super chat from Obing Elias, who says, my train has reached its destination, it's got to go by. Bye, good sir. Hope you had fun. Okay, moving on. The Church of Starry Wisdom. Okay, so this is book canon. The Church of Starry Wisdom is explicitly mentioned in World of Ice and Fire. It relates to the Bloodstone Emperor. So basically, in the East, in Yiti, there's a whole bunch of, you know, gemstone rulers, an Amethyst Emperor and the Jade Emperor and all this stuff. And the Bloodstone Emperor was the evil guy who apparently married a tiger woman, and he caused the Long Night through some bullshit. There's a load of weird theories and conspiracies around that. Again, excuse the plane going overhead if you can even hear that. But apparently he created the Church of Starry Wisdom, and it still exists to this day as a weird cult. The Bloodstone Emperor, it says here, was the founder of the Church of Starry Wisdom, but the church soon surpassed him. Today it can be found nearly across the known world, although those who follow its teachings are secretive and selective. So yeah, it's kind of like a weird dark cult. What is known is that they worship a great piece of oily black stone, not unlike that of Yin, the toadstone, Ashai, or even the seastone chair. This stone is said to have revealed the true nature of reality and great cosmic principles that shatter many men's minds. So, again, another weird esoteric Lovecraftian thing. But yeah, this is book canon. Let's see if we can learn any more about it from a quick search. It's also known as the Cult of Starry Wisdom, led by a high priest, and it's considered to be sinister. Oh, it's a specific reference to a cult in Lovecraft's short story, The Haunter of the Dark. Okay, so again, this is all the little Lovecraft culty religion stuff. The Bloodstone Emperor was the first high priest of the Church of Starry Wisdom. the first to recognize the gift of knowledge, which was the fallen oily black stone from the Darkstalker. Okay, so they worship the oily black stone as opposed to any specific gods, and they venerate the Bloodstone Emperor as the first high priest. Sanctioned forced conversions. That's cool. That kind of implies that they go almost... unlike the Rhoynar thing, which is about survival, this feels like creepy cult members going undercover. Like, yes, of course I worship the Lord of Light, wink wink. Human sacrifice, gruesome festivals, divine plots, yeah. Deviancy accepted, let's go. And then finally, the last esoteric Lovecraftian church is Church of the Great Old Ones. The gods are not intangible aspects or foreign concepts. No, the Great Old Ones lie below the island itself. This was known to others, for when the Golden Empire, curse its name, came, they sealed the entrances to the gods. Now, joyfully, the God Empress has unsealed them, and once again opened the connection between the Great Old Ones and the Lengi people. Okay, so this is a specific reference to the Isle of Leng, which is an isle, I believe it's not available on the map, but I'll look it up anyway. It's an isle off the coast of Yiti that was conquered by Yiti. Maybe there's meant to be a bit of a Japan, maybe even Korea inspiration there. I'm not 100% certain. Where is Leng? Leng is... Yeah, Leng is like... is here. Actually, no, you can kind of see it. I think this is meant to be Leng. This island. There we go. To the south of Yiti. That's Leng. And it's ruled by a God Empress, which is referenced here. The God Empress. So here it says that the people of Yang worship the Great Old Ones, who are literally gods who are beneath the island. But the entrance to, I guess, this underground place was sealed off by Yiti, who were like, this is not real, this is blasphemous. And the God Empress has unsealed them. And so the connection is born again. And what do they believe in then? Yeah, all the horrible esoteric stuff. Human sacrifice, gruesome festivals, all that stuff. Male adultery shunned and female adultery accepted is so funny. Is that meant to be because it's a God Empress? Is it more of a matriarchy? Clerical gender only women. So it seems to be a female only religious organization. Witchcraft accepted. Thralls. Ooh. Female. Yeah, there we go. It literally says here, female dominated. The Old Ones lie in the tunnels deep below Leng. Through the God Empress, their designs and wants are known. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look. The island, according to the wiki, the island's name may be a reference to Lovecraft's Leng. Yet another Lovecraft reference. That makes sense. Old Ones. Yes, okay. So, the Old Ones are canon to World of Ice and Fire. They live deep in the ruined subterranean cities on the island of Leng. The God Empresses of Leng have congress with them. They instructed the Empresses on at least 4 occasions to massacre foreigners. Damn. I wonder if they truly exist, or if they're a way for the God Empresses to justify controversial policy. They're like, yep, I just communed with the gods down below, trust me. For real, just trust me. And we gotta raise taxes. Sorry, that's what the god said, we gotta raise taxes. Cool, yeah, so that's nice. And yes, of course, probably a reference to the Old Ones from Lovecraft. Not the Deep Ones. The Deep Ones are the fish people, right? Who are the Old Ones? Just, I guess, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like someone said, like the Bene Gesserit. Yeah, so, yeah, there we go. We've gone through the weird, esoteric, Eastern, Lovecraftian churches, the cults, basically. These are the weird cults. They exist in the Far East, or they're scattered throughout Essos. We're going to move on, rather, to the next step, which is Faith of the Councils. Oh, there's only one Faith of the Council, and that's, Dothraki, of course. So, the Khalasar of the Great Stallion. So, of course, this is the gods worshipped by the Dothraki. The religion and beliefs of the Dothraki, it says here, are largely derived from their ancient traditions and the teachings of the witch queen Doshi, mother of the first great Khal. Most of the natural world is represented by many gods, the sun and his wife, the moon, the earth itself, and above all the great stallion. While they acknowledge the gods of other lands and peoples, they are not to be worshipped. Instead, they are to be broken and dragged to Vaes Dothrak to become vanquished witnesses to the greatness of the Dothraki and their gods. Or should I say, the Dothraki, as George would say. So, cool. So this is the religion of the Dothraki. What I love about it is that they're like, it's saying here is like, oh, we don't believe that your gods are false. They are your gods, right? You're the god of your area, your location, your city, your ethnicity, your culture. That's fine. They are just inferior to ours, so we're going to steal your idols and conquer them. So fuck you. Like, they don't disagree that other gods exist. They're just like, our god's better than your god. So what are the tenets of the Dothraki religion then? Worshipping the Great Stallion. Armed pilgrimages. Travelling across the world to visit sacred holy sites like Vaes Dothrak. That makes sense. Unrelenting faith. Our convictions are strong and we will gladly fight and die for our faith. Yep. Warmongers, yeah. This is Dothraki culture. Terror of the plains. The steppe is the home of the horde. Here the great horse lords rule and devour all others. And blood oaths, yeah. Because they have blood riders. So the sins of the Dothraki. I haven't been breaking down all of the sins and virtues and so on, because so far we've mostly looked at the esoteric stuff, but this is more mainstream. We know more about the Dothraki in the main book. So their sins are calmness. It is a sin to be calm. Craven, it's a sin to be cowardly. And it's a sin to be compassionate. But what they celebrate as virtues are wrathful, bravery, and callousness. Most sane A Song of Ice and Fire religion. The gods are many and varied, but all people have them, and all peoples have them, but they will all be trampled by the great stallion, who will lead the Dothraki to the edges of the world. Yes, the one true faith, male-dominated, fundamentalist, lay clergy. Yes, any devoted follower is more than capable of understanding, following, and preaching the doctrine, so it's not like they have specific priests or anything, or any hierarchy. It's more they all just believe in the great stallion, and the sun and the moon, and so on. And it's mandatory, yes. You must all go to the holy place. Yeah, that being Vaes Dothrak. Their marriage type is polygamous. Male adultery accepted. Female adultery criminal. That's what we call based. Clerical gender, only women. That's referring to the Dosh Karlin, I think. Cool. And again, when there's a, CK3 has their Mongol expansion. I assume that DLC will be in some ways transferred into a Game of Thrones update, so we can have some cool Dothraki gameplay. Let's move on. What else do we have? Next up we have the Faith of the Courts. We have 5 Faith of the Courts. I think this is going to be a Yeti reference. Excuse me, let me have some water. As should you. Everyone here drink something. Stay hydrated. Wait, let me just check the chat actually. Ooh. Fisherman Frank said, it's mentioned that Marwyn the Mage worships in, quote, queer dockside temples in Old Town. And in the World of Ice and Fire, they say the starry worship cults are found in portside cities around the world. That would be fun. Danny having Mokoro, the zealous red priest, on one shoulder, and then a cult of starry wisdom mad mage on her other shoulder is very funny. That's quite cool. See, it does make you think that, like, if you have Lord of Light, which is very much going to be, Relorism is going to be like an anti-Long Night faith, like kind of zealous crusaders, defeat the Great Other, defeat the White Walkers. Is there going to be an opposite cult? Some people theorize that Euron is going to almost lead his own, religion cult that's very much supporting the Long Night in some way. That could be kind of fun. Could that be Cult of Starry Wisdom, maybe? Someone said, yes. Daenerys said, these churches are just basically casual religions from Godherja. I have yet to play Godherja, but I hear it's fire, and I do want to do videos, Godherja videos, for that niche little fan base. That'd be fun. Yes, to clarify, Leng is the Leng Ting. Yeah, no, not to be confused with the British slang. No, Leng is, yeah, that's the island of the really tall people, really long legs. Bum ba-dum. Thank you for the super chat from James Ryan, who says, problems you have with the dance in Fire and Blood. Ooh, little off topic there. Interesting. Problems I have with the dance in Fire and Blood. I think my main issue is that it's ultimately just a bunch of notes he came up with and then was kind of stuck inside and then worked, had to develop notes and ideas that were already made canon, if that makes sense. Like, the thing, why A Song of Ice and Fire is so cool, and arguably also why it's flawed, is because he didn't stick with his original ideas. He let them grow and develop, and he did the gardener approach, blah, 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 etc., etc. The thing with the Dance of the Dragons is that he kind of, he wasn't able to leap in and evolve and adapt and seed plants and go down different corridors and different doors, etc. over time, like with the main series. So he stuck with an original outline that he fleshed out. And, if he were to make the dance from scratch with no existing canon notes, it would probably be completely different. It would probably be a lot better, right? And, it's fine. It's just, yeah, there are certain plot threads that don't go anywhere, or there are character endings that feel like could have been more interesting. There are promises that aren't kept, like the whole Daemon being the whole epic badass who is light and dark in equal measure. He's just an asshole. He's just a dick most of the time. What else? Oh yeah. I'll tell you what. I'm being quite vague here about the dance being good but not as rich as the main series. The main issue I have with the dance is Aegon III marrying Daenerys Targaryen, aka the most beautiful 6-year-old in the world. Yeah, I've made it known countless times that it's a fantastic ending to the dance to have Aegon and Jaehaera marry. All this bloodshed and chaos and destruction, and ultimately both sides do what they should have done in the first place, which is they just hook up. It's just a black and a green have children together, and it's all just kind of rendered. It's just two traumatized children marry, and it's all kind of rendered pointless and silly. You realize how silly it all is. But then suddenly, boo, and that was the original canon, but then it got changed to random Valyrian girl that this like borderline teenager was like, oh, I'm gonna marry her when she's older. Very weird, unnecessary, lame, lessens the impact of the ending. The only good I've only heard two justifications for it. One, I've heard that like by the time they had in terms of timelines, it would have meant that Jaehaera was having children in her early 20s, and some people... It wasn't George himself who said this, was it? I'm sure someone was like... He said it wouldn't make sense for Jaehaera Targaryen to be having children as late as her early 20s, which it would need to be for certain dates to add up. And obviously that's insane, so that can't be true. There must be someone capping. There's got to be some bullshit somewhere. The other justification is... It turns the Blackfire Rebellion into a black-green issue, almost, where, like, because the throne goes from... no, it doesn't, though, does it? No, it kind of does, because obviously Aegon and Jaehaera's... If he were married to Jaehaera, their children, Daeron, Baelor, and the three sisters, and then Daena the Defiant gets with Aegon the Unworthy, and then boom. So it makes the Blackfires the last surviving descendants of the Green faction, and therefore maybe it murkies the Blackfire Rebellion by unnecessarily making it like the Green faction. But then that's not a good excuse. Anyway, I rambled for too long. Long story. There's a small super chat that I answered that was way too big. But long story short, Aegon marrying Daenerys Valyrian instead of Jaehaera Targaryen is really, really, really stupid, and I hate it. Okay. What else? Right, let's continue. So, yes, the Celestial Court of Heaven, that absolutely sounds Yeetie. So Yeetie, of course, is big old golden empire to the far east. It's the planetos equivalent of Imperial China. All under heaven is born to heaven's will, and just as the emperors rule the golden empire, so too does a god on earth rule the celestial court. Amongst the court are other divine beings, including the maiden Maid of Light and the Lion of Night, who serve as the god on earth's chief advisors. When needed, the Lion of Night served as the executioner and enforcer. Huh. So just to clarify, because like I said, it's been a while since I read World of Ice and Fire. Is this saying that the... Oh, well, of course. The Golden Empire is run by a god emperor, right? So they believe that the emperor, each emperor is a god. So is that meant? Is the god emperor of Yeetie meant to be the god on earth who rules the celestial court? Okay. And then other members of his court are also considered divine. So if someone is named the Maiden of Light and the Lion of Night, then they are officially become gods or are considered gods. Gods of Yeetie. The 1,000 gods of Yeetie arrange themselves like the Middle Kingdom below, a vast divine bureaucracy, with, at its head, the god on earth who ascends to be with his parents, the Maiden Maid of Light and Lion of Night. Okay, I need to look this up. I need to look this shit up. How much of this is from, specifically, A Song of Ice and Fire, how much of this is taking some inspiration from Imperial China and doing some fusion? Let's have a look. There are many gods, this is according to the Wiki of Ice and Fire, there are many gods in Yeetie's religion, but two of the major ones are the Lion of Night and the Maiden Maid of Light. According to legend, their child was the first god emperor of Yeetie, the god on earth. Ah, I see. Okay. Okay, so the god on earth is the first ruler of the great Empire of the Dawn. Okay, and the Golden Empire of Yeetie being a successor to the Great Empire of the Dawn. Okay. Cool. And so that means the God Emperor of Yeetie is descended from a god. So yeah, they are not a god, they're kind of god adjacent. They're god descended. And Lion of Night, ooh. Very nice. And Maid of Light. Cool. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, what are their tenets? In a journey, only by understanding one's own self can we understand the world. The journey of self-discovery is important, as it is long and difficult. Some Eastern philosophy inspired stuff there, I guess. Ritual hospitality. Hospitality is one of the greatest virtues mankind can exhibit. Guests in our home, be they mortal or divine, should be treated with respect. Ritual celebrations, god kings, of course the god emperor, and divine presence. Cool. The presence of God on earth can be felt everywhere. The notion that certain places are more divine than others is nothing short of heresy. Cool. Cool. So that is the faith of Yeetie, but there looks like a bunch of offshoots to this faith. Very interesting. The Jeweled Court of Dawn. Let's see what these various denominations are. The direct line from the god of earth, the emperors of Pearl, Jade, Tourmaline, Onyx, Topaz, Opal, and the Amethyst Empress were not men and women as we are, but were of divine nature themselves. Even if that spark of divinity has diminished over time, today they still offer guidance and direction to those who pray to them, which has the same tenets and doctrines. Okay. The successors of the god on earth in the Great Empire of the Dawn, these individuals ascended and were given divine duties in the great spiritual bureaucracy. Okay, so So I like the idea that there's this kind of celestial heaven plane, which is the great bureaucracy, because of course Imperial China is known for kind of being the first great bureaucracy. Okay, so the main religion is that the first god emperor of the Great Empire of the Dawn was the son of two gods, Lion of Night and Maiden Maid of Light, those being two of thousands of gods, and so the current god emperors are descended from gods. This specific offshoot appears to be saying that the descendants of the gods are themselves gods. So it's not just god kings, kind of colloquially. It's literal god kings. Like our the emperors are gods, as opposed to you are distantly descended from a god. You have divine authority, a divine mandate. It's more than that. It's every emperor and empress is a god. Everyone that will be a god. Okay, interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure how much of a difference there is there between considering the emperors to be descended from gods versus considering them to be fully god. I guess it's just a level of different levels of yeah. But there's more. There's another offshoot called the Ancestral Court of Yiti. Beyond the great courts of the gods and of the Dawn Emperors, one's own family and ancestors form their own courts for guiding and protecting their living descendants. From the highest of princely houses to the lowest of servant houses, all pay respect to their ancestors. Huh. The ancestors of all, from the lowest of houses to the great god emperor dynasties, move on to serve in the great divine bureaucracy. So this is, again, I guess we shouldn't see these offshoots as necessarily being in contrast to the other ones. You know, it's not necessarily like Protestantism and Catholicism sort of kind of clashing. They're more various. There's a different emphasis. There are different degrees of emphasis on different aspects of these religions, and that will be, and the thing you focus on more determines in game what your subsect is, right? What your little denomination is. So they all believe in the main thing, but some people might believe that the gods are more divine than others, and others will believe more in kind of more in worshipping ancestors and the ancestors protecting their descendants from the divine bureaucracy. Okay. Again, the whole idea of the emphasis on ancestors, again, very kind of Imperial China inspired. Yeah, the tenets are all the same. Oh, no, sorry, they're not all the same. Imperial record, okay. Wait, if an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist. Okay, yeah. It kind of feels like the devs took a bunch of cultural inspiration from Imperial China and what we know of Yiti in World of Ice and Fire, and kind of highlighted a different aspect of that culture as its own denomination, perhaps. So the Bloodstone Court of Night. Ooh, okay. The Bloodstone Emperor conducted his own court, doing away with the right and pious ways of his forebears and of the gods. He took a tiger woman for a wife, and turned to worshipping the oily black stone that fell from the sky in the blood betrayal. Today, rebels, dissidents, sorcerers, and other impious individuals worship the Bloodstone Emperor and attempt to return the world to its ways under his rule. Okay, so there are those who reject worshipping the god emperors, and they're like, no, we specifically fuck all the gods. We specifically worship the Bloodstone Emperor himself. We need to return to when he ruled the Great Empire of the Dawn. So I guess it's different from the Cult of Starry Wisdom in that the Cult of Starry Wisdom is a religion founded by the Bloodstone Emperor, whereas the Bloodstone Court of Night are probably specifically people in Yiti who believe in the Yitish religions, but say that the Bloodstone Emperor was the best emperor they had and things should return to when he was in power, I guess. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, what do they believe in? They also believe in inner journey and ritual hospitality, yeah, so Yitish religions, but aspects, but they also believe in gruesome festivals. And god kings and oily black stone, so we're mixing in some esotericism here. And then there's the Holy Court of Leng. So this is a religion in Leng that is separate, not necessarily in contrast, but I guess separate enough from believing in the underground gods to warrant its own denomination. Since Kiara the Great, the God Empress has been venerated as both ruler and head of faith of Leng. She is the manifestation of the spirit of Leng itself, reflecting the makeup of the Lengi nation. Okay. So the people of Leng can maybe prioritize, because again, it's not necessarily about contrast, it's about what different groups might prioritize. So the other religion, the church of whatever it was, believe in the gods in the underground city of Leng, and this religion truly believes in worshipping the God Empress herself as the embodiment of Leng. So yeah, God Kings, yeah. So this is more kind of inspired by the Yitish religion in terms of inner journey, ritual hospitality, etc. Deep jungles, what does that mean? Ooh, cool. And yeah, female dominated. Okay, fun. Let's move on, shall we? We've looked at the Roynish, we've looked at the esoteric Far Eastern churches, we've looked at Yiti and Leng, and now we're moving on to Faith of the Cults. Oh, okay. So these are, and then the Faith of the Seven. So Faith of the Cults are probably the remaining SOC religions scattered about. So starting with Vugyahar. Followers believe in the full merits of the Vugyahar, the pantheon of pantheons. All gods and faiths of the world are welcomed and cherished, as long as they are worshipped in such a way that does not impede on the inherent freedom of men. That sounds kind of base, actually. Cool. So where's that worshipped? Let's have a look. That's worshipped in 32 counties. Where? Let's get the religion. Okay. So basically, yeah, around Bravos it looks like. Bravosi patrons. While all gods are welcomed in the free cities, those most celebrating the Isle of the Gods are the Moon Pale Maiden, Lion of Night, Father of Waters, Merlin King. Okay, so essentially, this is like the Bravosi allow various different, because the Bravosi are, there's not so much an ethnic Bravosi people, they are a people of peoples, right? They are a whole bunch of different ethnicities that are essentially former slaves of the Valyrians, of the Valyrian and Freehold, who fled to Bravos and established their own place. So they're a kind of a mongrel nation is how they're referred to in the books to some capacity, right? A mongrel, not nation, not the word nation. But anyway, yeah, so because of that, they're like lots of different people here worship different religions, and that's accepted. So this is almost a faith that kind of accepts the fact that that kind of worships, that supports a pantheon of pantheons. The idea that all these different religions are to be welcomed, are to be cherished. We accept them all, maybe we believe in them all, and so it's not that there is one true religion and the other gods don't exist, it's more there are a whole bunch of gods and different cultures and ethnicities will believe in different gods, and that's fine as long as there are not any faiths that step on others. So for example, the Church of Starry Wisdom probably wouldn't be allowed as part of this Vugyahar faith and wouldn't be allowed in Bravos because it's a dark esoteric faith that probably believes in stamping out other faiths, or like the Dothraki, right? Like they wouldn't be allowed to worship. Dothraki would not be allowed to come to Bravos and worship the Great Stallion because they believe in conquering other religions. So, okay. What are their tenets? They're adaptive. Dogmatic adherence to old restrictions only harms the faithful. Okay, that's part of this idea of, okay. Tax non-believers. Military service is for the faithful only, while a tax levied on non-believers for the protection. Okay. So they tax non-believers. I mean, that's just the Bravosi being Bravosi. Astrology. The night sky is our window into the realm of the divine. Okay. Wait, why are one of their sins... Wait, their sins are being generous. Again, the Bravosi. Being lazy, hard workers. Pilgrims Okay, I guess they don't believe in the idea of holy sites and pilgrim. They kind of, it's like stay in Bravos, I guess. And dull. So they consider it sinful to be stupid. Okay, interesting. And then the virtues they worship are greediness, shout out to the influence of the Iron Bank, diligent, and being shrewd. Cool. Cool. Interesting that there's a religion that's just kind of accepting various different religions and allowing people to worship their own thing. It's not necessarily that you believe all of them to be true, it's more you believe your own specific one, but you also believe in allowing all the others. That's a very, Bravosy thing. So moving on, we have the Pearl Divinities. The Pearl Divinities. Oh, okay. We're good. We're good. Yeah, my PC screen froze. I thought the live stream might have frozen, but let's have a look. Yeah, no, we haven't frozen. Dull because the Bravos are extravagant swordsmen. No, dull in CK3 is means stupid. And not dull as in boring. Dull as in lacking wits. Okay. Because my screen froze, I wasn't seeing a bunch of the new stuff. So someone pointed out that the Leng religion I was reading out, which seemed more Yeetish inspired, was the one for the Yeeti colonizers, whereas the more esoteric one, worshipping the underground gods, was for like the natives, like the classic natives of Leng. Hi Haven, who is Rosetta Stone? Rosetta Stone is my favourite historical figure. She's great. She's awesome. Oh, the Church of Sorry Wisdom does operate in Bravos. Well, that was a very bad example that I gave then. Okay, cool. Whoops. Okay, let's continue. So, Pearl Divinities. 30 counties follow this faith. Where? Ah. Interesting. In the southwest of Essos. So this is where the 3 cities and the disputed lands are, etc. And also up here. Huh. Followers of the Pearl Divinities, a pantheon of goddesses and gods led by the Weeping Lady, Pantera, Yindros, Bacalon, and Segal, tend to cherish beauty and exalt more feminine constructs of power. Interesting, the Pearl Divinities. I remember one of those, Bacalon, because I mentioned it in my April Fool's shit post. Bacalon, the Pale Child, is a god of death. Yes, this is yes, thank you. This is a Lyseni religion. It's on the island of Lys, and it's on the island of Lys, and it's in the disputed lands, and it's in a little bit here. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. In fact, yeah, let's close this for a sec. Golden Gardens. Oh, that's a different faith altogether. Okay, well, we're finding out new stuff. We're finding out. Okay, let's make our way through. Let's not. Okay, so maybe is it a wait a minute. Is it Lyseni exclusive? Prince's Shore. Prince's What is this one meant to be? Religion. Oh yeah, only the faith codes. Pearl Divinities. Oh, it's like a specific duchy in some of these places. Okay. Like, I mean, one of them's here, and that's Tyrosh. Huh. But it does say Lyseni patron, so these are okay. Those worshipped above others in Lys. Okay, so you're right. Ignore what I said. This seems to be specifically Lyseni gods. worship beauty. They worship feminine traits, it looks like. Definitely leads into the idea of the Lyseni being quite kind of... The Lyseni, you know, they breed bed slaves. Like, they seem to have a focus on, like, on physical beauty and pleasure and all this stuff. So their tenets are carnal exaltation. The pleasures of the flesh are sublime in a way that transcends other earthly experiences, bringing us closer to the divine. We should glorify our sexual desires and seek out opportunities for us to fulfill them. That sounds very classically Lyseni. Adaptive, okay. They believe in some astrology. Chains and whips, yeah. Chains and whips are the where the slavery is built into the religion. It looks like greatness, be it man or empire, is built with brick and blood. So their sins are being chased. Interesting. Being chaste, being generous, being lazy, being a pilgrim, and being dull. Their virtues are being lustful, being greedy, being diligent, shrewd. Okay. All faiths are welcome. So they're like, we worship our stuff. You can worship yours. Male dominated. So it exalts female traits, but the religion is male dominated. It's pluralistic. Okay. Slavery is accepted. Very nice. Adultery is accepted. Same-sex relationships accepted. Deviancy is accepted. Shout out to Lise. Someone said the Guna religion. Yeah, this is the Guna religion, everyone. Let me look it up as well. Pearl divinities. Is this specifically mentioned in A Song of Ice and Fire? No, but I'm going to look up Lise. Or Lys. Lise or Lys. I would say Lise. Okay. Yeah, it says they believe in mixed religions. Lys is a port city with no established faith, but there's a whole bunch of different deities in Lys. So yeah, so this is very much the devs have had fun and come up with some fun ideas here. So yeah, a whole bunch of gods in the Lyseni culture. What was Golden Gardens? I'm going to skip to Golden Gardens because the leader of Lys worshipped the Golden Gardens. And it's like, okay. And yeah, that is also worshipped in Lys. Also worshipped in parts of the Disputed Lands. What's this one then? Those who believe in the sacred Golden Gardens keep their presumed beauty as a tightly held secret. Jelani and her conclave are celebrated through arcane ritual and mysterious scripture. Huh. Mirish. Golden Gardens are Mirish? Why is the leader of Lys worshipping a Mirish god? That's kind of random. Wait. I'm just checking. Okay, well, actually, we'll get to that when we get... Let's do it in order then. Let's take it in turns. Okay, so we've looked at the Lyseni gods. Now we're going to move on to the Tyroshi gods. The Hues of Trios. So, yeah, this is... yeah. Tyrosh Disputed Lands. Long ago, followers of the myriad of gods worked together under banners of war and banners of commerce. In this cooperation, they came to favour and champion Trios as the deserved dominar of their deities. Interesting. While all gods are welcomed in the free cities, those chiefly celebrated in Tyrosh are Trios, the twins Semosh and Seloso, the drunken god, and the pattern. So throughout these cities and the free cities and the disputed lands, etc., etc., they worship all kind of gods, but some are valued more than others. So the Lyseni specifically value Weeping Lady and Pantera and Yindros of the Twilight, etc., and then the Tyroshi explicitly value Trios and the Semosh and Seloso. We're going to be going through each of these gods, actually. I'll look them up in a sec, but let's just go through this stuff first. Yeah, all faiths welcome, male dominated, etc. Yeah, they believe in taxing non-believers. The chosen must carve out their own kingdoms. Yeah. Okay, So that's the Tyroshi, and then Prince's Mercies is Pentoshi. Okay. Before we jump into the Pentoshi, then let's skip to the Mirish. So Mirish. While all gods are welcomed, those chiefly worshipped in Mir are Aquan the Red Bull, the Hooded Wayfarer, the Silent God, and Jelani. Okay. So they also, like Elise, they also believe in carnal exaltation. Yeah, okay. So this is all just about, there's a massive pantheon, but different free cities value and emphasize different gods. We'll look at those later. Moving over to Pentos, up here. Shout out to my boy Illyrio Mapatis. The Prince's Mercies. For the good of his people, the great prince, so the Prince of Pentos, offers prosperity and guidance through a chosen vessel. Oh, my bad. The great prince must be a god. The Mercies, the pantheon he presides over, may eventually demand the vessel's life as tribute once his blessings have been spent. Okay, so the Prince of Pentos acts as a vessel for the great prince, and any idea in Pentoshi culture is when Pentos fucks up, like a famine happens or they lose a war or something, the prince is sacrificed by the other merchant princes, who then elect a new prince to represent them. Okay. So, princely arbiter. Yes, the prince is seen as the intermediary of the gods. Wait, let me just double check this. Is the great prince the name of a god, or are they just saying that the Prince of Pentos acts as the arbiter, the intermediary, the middleman of the great pantheon that the East of Essos believe in? Yeah, the prince has a ceremonial function. They're picked by the magisters. And then the prince is sacrificed if things go badly. Religion. Yeah, so it's mixed religions. Okay, cool. So it's the classic mixed religions, but they believe in being ruled by a kind of like a ceremonial pope who is then sacrificed if things go to shit. Okay, that's kind of interesting. And of course, sacrificial ceremonies, yeah. Moving down to hereditary. 2 counties follow this faith. Where? What 2 counties follow this? Can we find them? In Essos, presumably. Ah, down here. Part of the disputed lands. What's this place? What's this little place? Hold on. Oh, Volantine. Ah, I see. Coheros. Okay. So this must be a Volantis religion, but because... So Volantis is here on the map, but because it hasn't been added yet, we don't have it yet, but we have some Volantine people who have moved over to the disputed land, some group. Okay, that's quite cool. So let's check that out then, shall we? Hereditary. How do you say that? Hereditary. Hereditary holds that the gods of Valyria died with the doom, and their power and thrones passed on to those worthy enough to claim them. These gods and their followers, fierce, radiant, and unyielding, are seen not as creations of the past, but as its rightful heirs. Reverence is paid not to the origin, but to succession. Okay. Volantine patrons. They worship the Lion of Night, Semosh and Soloso, etc. Okay, they worship some... Okay, so... I guess the idea behind this one is that they worship gods that they consider to be successor gods, right? Because Volantis is, like a lot of the free cities, previously established by the Valyrian freehold before that empire collapsed. So this is, Valyrian gods are real, but they died with the doom, and so now, us Volantine, we worship our own gods that are considered successors of the Valyrian gods. Because I guess Volantis is slightly more culturally tied to Valyria, so it's like, okay. That's cool. Let me look that up. Let's see how canon that is. Oh. Oops. Yeah, mixed religions. Anything more specific? Yeah, it says here that many inside Volantis keep the old gods of Valyria. So yeah, so I guess some of them still worship the gods. Others say those gods died. We worship the successor gods. Cool, that's cool. So just kind of those, yeah, the free city gods. Interesting thing I've noticed here: the Graces' syncretism. The gods of Gis are old and weathered, and thus we will honour the rites and traditions as taught by their graces. So this is implying that there's a bit of they kind of merge aspects of their faith with the faith of the Giscari, the gods of the Giscari. Really? Or is this a roundabout way of allowing them to recruit Unsullied in the game? I'm not sure. Huh, interesting. Okay, moving on. Disciples of the Bearded God. So this is a reference, I believe, to Norvos. So a free city that is not in the game yet, Norvos. Let's... Again, I need to check where they are on the map. Norvos. There we are. Ah, there we go. Okay. So the Novoshi are basically, like here. Oh, whoops. Here, to the north of this river. This is where Norvos is. So the disciples of the Bearded God, and so of course, by the way, Ario Hotar, the captain of the guard in Sunspear, the camera that rides himself, he's Norvosi, right? Unlike many of the other free city cults, the disciples of the Bearded God only acknowledge and worship their own god. So they don't believe in this kind of massive free city pantheon that's everywhere. They believe there is but one god, and that is the Bearded God. Oh, wait, it says the name of this god is secret only to their highest priests, but since only their priests are allowed beards, it has generally it's been called the Bearded God by outsiders. Indeed, the allowance of hair seems to be of import. Only men are permitted to have hair on their heads, and only priests are allowed beards, while women are required to shave their heads bald. Shout out to Jada Pinkett Smith. Okay, so yeah, so they believe in one god, and that's the Bearded God. And I believe the symbol is an axe. We haven't been talking about the symbols, I apologise, but the art is very incredible. But the axe here probably represents the fact that is it like a kind of a nod to Ario Hotar. So they believe in unrelenting faith. So our convictions are strong, we will die for them. Legalism, our laws are the result of generations of wisdom and devoutness. Yeah. Religious law, chains and whips, so yeah, slavery, and holy hair. The God who reigns above is mighty and set the world to order. It is he who placed man above beast, priest above man. Interesting. So priests at the top with beards, non-priest men underneath with hair, women at the bottom, no hair, probably signifies a lower social status. Cool. And again, the Graces' syncretism, so they have some kind of link to the religion of the Giscari. And yeah, they're male-dominated, they're fundamentalist. Damn, adultery is criminal, witchcraft is criminal, same-sex relations is criminal. And of course, Norvos does not exist in the game yet, but that's cool. What else do we have? What other free city cults do we have? We have the Disciples of the Many-Faced God, of course. That is, hey, my name, Haven. That is, of course, up here with Bravos. The Many-Faced God is the god of all death, and any other death gods worshipped in the world are actually his faces or incarnations. To live is to suffer, and him of many faces offers a merciful end to that suffering. So, yeah, essentially it's, those who worship the many-faced god, the idea is that God is death. They worship death, and it has many faces, so In the faith of the seven, it's the stranger. In some pantheons, it's Bacalon the Pale Child, etc. They're like, for some people it's the Black Goat of Qohor. It's like different death gods. We worship all of them because we worship the concept of death. So this is very much, this is Faceless Man, right? This is the Faceless Man religion. They're not just an Assassin's Creed. They are a religious cult. And, so they believe in asceticism. So simple lives, sacred murder. It is our duty before him of many faces to destroy his enemies through infiltration and deception. So they consider murder itself to be a sacred act. Communal possessions, equal share of the resources on earth. Many faces, yeah. The great lie that divides men is that their gods are different and not simply the many faces of one god. And then divine plots. Yeah. All know the many-faced God, it says here, even if they're not aware of it. When one prays to the father of the Andals, the Lion of Night, etc., they pray to the many-faced God. Cool. So yeah, all faiths welcome, and pluralism because they believe, like, yeah. So that's the religion, of course, of the faceless men. The pattern. A religion called the Pattern, and the symbol looks like a maze. What's this one? The Pattern Maker's teachings hold that truth lies at the heart of a great labyrinth, one not always marked by walls or turns, but by choices, contradictions, and revelations. All may walk its winding ways, but only those with humility and patience might find wisdom in life's shifting paths. That sounds more like a philosophy than a religion, but I guess the lines can be blurred somewhere. Yeah, that's Bravos, and Los and Bravos. The Pattern Maker. Huh. Let's have a look at that. I don't... yes. There we go. Cool. Okay, did a bit of research. So, in Bravos, there is something called the Pattern Maker's Maze, and the priests of the pattern claim that only those who learn to walk the labyrinth properly will find wisdom. Interesting. It's a religious labyrinth. So basically, if you were able to successfully walk through this labyrinth and I guess reach the other side or reach whatever within, then you have found wisdom. So it's kind of like enlightenment, I guess. And according to the wiki, it's a deliberate reference to the works of Roger Zelazny. Okay, so there's something in Roger Zelazny's work that involve a pattern, and George is referencing that. That's nice. Interestingly, here it says Lorathi patrons, which implies that this is a religion of the free city of Lorath. So if we can find where Lorath is on the map, Lorath is it's an island. So Lorath is this island. Whoops, if you can see this island. So according to the wiki, the maze maker, the maze, this whole weird religious maze in Bravos, it's unknown what the origin is, but we do know that there are maze makers in Lorath. So Lorath is full of mazes, blocks of carved stone. Interesting. It's unknown if the maze makers were connected to the pan. So yeah, so it looks like the devs have merged this together. They've put together this interesting religion about patterns and mazes and merged it with the maze makers of Lorath and made a Lorathi religion. That's a fun way to merge some canon ideas together to create something. And it could even be canon, we don't know. So they worship the pattern, the fathers of water, etc. So unrelenting faith, they're adaptive. Anything interesting specifically? Veneration syncretism. Huh. Cool. It's all about enlightenment. Okay, what else do we have here? We have, 0 counties. We have the disciples of Josemachasma. Shout out to Josimakasma. I have no idea what that even is. Josimakasma, the Great One who rises again and again, directed their followers north of the polytheistic freehold by flinging a star from their own body. There, among the stars fall in the hills of the Great Desolation, they could worship the sun god in all their purity, removed from those whose sins would one day darken the skies. Huh. So there were followers in the polytheistic Valyrian freehold, and their god was like, look at me, and he flung a star and was like, follow the star, and they followed the star in the hills of the Great Desolation, somewhere away from the oppressive Valyrians, where they could worship the sun god. Okay. And Josimakasma is the sun god. He's the divine sun. Okay. It's fundamentalist. There's only one true faith. There's a secret tongue. Okay, it's kind of this, sun worship. Interesting. Let me look this up. This doesn't seem to be a Song of Ice and Fire reference specifically. Is there a sun god in Song of Ice and Fire? The divine sun? Is this meant to be like a Dark Souls reference even? Yeah, I don't see anything about a divine sun. I don't know what part of the world this is from. I don't know what it's referencing. What is this? Is this a Dark Souls reference? The whole praise the sun? I've never played Dark Souls. Huh. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm just checking the chat. Oh wait, no, I've got the top chat bit loaded up. There we go. I've got more coming in. Yeah, let me know if what this is a reference for. A reference to. I do not know. Right, okay. Let's move on. The disciples of Boaz. Sorry that took so long, everyone. I got distracted. Stop having weird discussions in the chat, everyone. We're doing a CK3 Song of Ice and Fire video. Stop being annoying and edgy and provocative for the sake of it. That's not what these videos are about. Okay, the disciples of Boaz. Boaz, the blind god, has been worshipped for thousands of years. His followers adhere to a strict code of consuming no flesh or wine and believe that higher truths can only be seen by their third eye, which can only be opened when the other two see only darkness. Boaz, the blind god. So where did this come from? This is also to be found in Bravos, apparently. The blind god, a strict god who seeks to have its followers see into the higher planes of existence. That's cool. Opening the third eye. Oh, so this is kind of like Buddhism, I guess. Look, we have vows of poverty, shun the acquisition of material wealth if we're to focus on what really matters, aestheticism, materialistic pursuits blind us to the divine truth, sanctity of life. All of this is very Buddhist. Even opening the third eye, that it's a reaching enlightenment, and its virtues are being temperate, being diligent, being shrewd. And so in terms of to open up your third eye, you need to be blind, because the world is a lie and you'll see the truth. Is that their followers wear blindfolds, or do they literally blind themselves? Do they literally blind themselves? I don't know. Okay. Cool. And let me look that up. Yeah, the blind god. It says here on a wiki, a deity that was once worshipped in the Valyrian freehold, and his followers settled on the Isle of Lorath. Okay, so another Lorathi religion, it looks like. We've got the maze maker pattern stuff, and we've also got the blind god. Oh, that's cool. All life is sacred and eternal. All on earth were equal creatures of God, men and women, lords and peasants, rich and poor, slave and master, man and beast. Oh, and they have, yeah, they have eunuch priests who wear, okay, they wear blindfolds, it looks like. Oh no, they died out. Oh, it looks like it might be like a dead religion, but maybe in a previous bookmark that can be released in the mod, then yeah. Cool. Moving on, and then this is the final, looks like, free city religion, the disciples of the black goat. So this is a reference to, yeah, this is a Cohoric religion. So what's his name? Who's the Cohor guy? Oh, what's his name? His name's completely slipped my head. You know who I'm talking about. Who is he? Vargo Hoat. There we go. I can't believe I forgot that. Vargo Hoat. He wears a black goat head on white, and some of the people in the Brave Companions wear that as well, because it's a reference to the god, to the Cohoric god, a dark god worshipped in Cohor, seen as a demon by many other faiths. The black goat is known for the daily blood sacrifices required to appease it. So it's seen as a scary, dark faith. Okay. Where's Cohor then? Let's just double check. Cohor, okay, so Cohor is over here. So it's here. Where these two rivers kind of split off, that's where Cohor is. Unrelenting faith. Yes, we shall not surrender. Esotericism. Human sacrifice, daily, apparently. Blood, magic, and steel. Ooh, the freehold of old worked many wonders. Interesting. And holiness through commerce. Worshipped chiefly in Cohor. One true faith. Deviancy accepted, of course. Let's see what we know about it. The Black Goat of Cohor. The Cohoric bring calves, bullocks, and horses before the Black Goat's altars. On holy days, condemned criminals go beneath the knife. And in times of danger and crisis, high nobles of the city offer their own children to placate the Black Goat. Okay, so it's mostly animal sacrifice, but it can be human sacrifice. And the faceless men consider him a god of death, one of the many gods of death. They're worshipped by Cohor itself was founded by worshippers of the Black Goat who abandoned Valyria. Okay, so people in Cohor worshipped the Black Goat down here, and Valyria was like, no, we have set gods. These are the gods. The pantheon, go away. And so the Black Goat worshippers fled and made their own city to specifically worship this scary goat boy. Lovely. Yeah, black metal religion, someone says in the chat. That's true. Hoat the goat. Yeah, the one and only. Cool. Wait a minute. Let me just double check Streamlabs. Sometimes I forget to check. Make sure we haven't had a Streamlabs donation. Don't want to miss out on anything. No, we haven't. Any new super chats? Not yet. If you have any questions, let me know, fellas. All right, what are we doing next? So that's the okay. So we've done all of the main, all of the free cities on the west of Essos. What next? How many more religions are there? Goddamn. Oh my god, there are so many. Oh my god, there are so many. Okay, we need to pick up the pace. Let's be faster here. What have we got? Okay, so well, here we go. The Faith of the Seven. Faith of the Seven. I'm just doing it by order of sorted by religion. So, yeah, I'm not picking a specific order. So Faith of the Seven, followed by 677 counties. Oh look, all throughout the south of Westeros. What a surprise! So we know this one, but let's dive into it. The faith of the Seven is the dominant religion of Westeros. The majority of the people and lands are counted among the faithful. All the kings of the Andals, Rhoynar first men, in addition to being members, have sought crowning by the High Septon. It's built upon the revelations and truths as laid out in the Seven-Pointed Star, and is led by the guidance of the most devout and High Septon. So Faith of the Seven is the most sort of Christianity-inspired, specifically Catholicism. You have a High Septon who's basically like a pope, and he's voted in by the most devout, who are basically the cardinals. Reminder that one of the most devout is a Frey, Septon Lucian. In fact, let's get our boy Lucian up, shall we? Where's our boy Lucian? Where's Septon Lucian? There he is, Septon Lucian. He tried to become the High Septon in the books, but he got outvoted by supporters of the High Sparrow. Cool. Whoop. Wait, where were we? There we are. Faith of the Seven. Yes. And of course they were, their version of the Bible is the Seven-Pointed Star. And they believe in the seven who are one. So it's kind of like how Christians believe that God is simultaneously God and Jesus. That Jesus is the Son of God, but also God. And then, depending on the denomination, you also have the Holy Ghost, who's also an aspect of God. Likewise, you have the seven: the father, the mother, the warrior, the maiden, the smith, the crone, the stranger. But they are all one God, that being the God. But with seven aspects, seven personalities almost. So the seven who are one, it says here, one deity represented by seven aspects. The father is stern and just. The mother is loving and protective. The warrior is brave and strong. The maiden is beautiful and pure. The smith is steadfast and diligent. The crone is wise and thoughtful. The stranger is dark and shadowy. And it's kind of like the god of death, I guess. So the sins for the faith of seven, they lust, laziness, impatience, arrogance, cowardliness, being arbitrary, being sadistic. The virtues are being chaste and diligent and patient and humble and brave and just and compassionate. Their tenets are a communal identity. The faith and culture links everyone together. Monasticism. The pleasures of fine wine and drink only serve to distract us from the service of the divine. So, the Septons live a simple monastic life. At least they're meant to be. I think there are probably some corrupt people within the most devout who probably revel a bit. Same with some High Septons. I mean, how did the fat one get so fat if he's meant to be monastic? Shout out to the fat one too. It says here, the current head of faith, boom, the fat one. They're not given names, they're just kind of given nicknames. What else do we have? Oh yes, they're adaptive, so they think that dogmatic adherence to old restrictions harms the faithful. So that's them basically being like, yeah, we can live with people who worship the old gods. We're not going to go on a crusade and convert the North. Consecrated knighthood. Knighthood is very specifically linked to the faith of the seven. No one outside of the faith can be knighted. So no one in the North who worships the old gods or anyone in Essos or anything can be knighted. You have to be a follower of the faith. When the Andals came with iron and axes, their greatest warriors were anointed by their septon and were called knights. Today, knights are still anointed by the faith of the seven and serve as bastions of chivalry, being exemplars of courage, fortitude, and honour. And then the most devout. The most devout, the holy leaders of the faithful, are the heart and mind of the faith of the seven. It is they who elect and elevate the High Septon. So, the cardinals. Yeah, it's pact syncretism, so they kind of have they're not going on crusades against old god worshippers. It's male dominated. You do have scepters, but scepters don't have the same level of power as septons, I think. From my understanding, we don't know that much. We don't know, I'm not gonna lie, there's some creative surface level stuff, but religion really isn't a deep aspect of the books. Probably one of my few criticisms of the books is religion is really not explored that deeply. We don't know that much really about the faith of the seven. Like, are the scepters on the same level as the septons? Is it like priests and priestesses, or is it more like, are the scepters more like nuns? and the septons are priests. I don't know. It's pluralist, so there are different ways to interpret the divine will, and that's accepted. Theocratic, of course, led by septons, and pilgrimages are encouraged. Yes. So, male adult. See, it's interesting. It says here that you've got the stuff that you expect, like slavery is criminal, adultery is shunned, witchcraft is criminal, deviancy is criminal, clerics only men, etc. But same-sex relations being shunned, I don't think it's ever explicitly mentioned what the attitude, what the sort of like cultural religious attitude in Westeros towards gay people is, even. I think it's implied to be a kind of, you keep it to yourself. Like, Loras isn't in trouble for being gay. Everyone knows he is, they just kind of accept it. I don't know if that's a part of the religion. In the show, it's homosexuality is treated as a sin within the Seven, and it's something that's specifically stamped out by the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant, and Loras is specifically thrown in prison for that. That doesn't happen in the books. He's not thrown in prison. Yeah. So we don't really know, but I guess just if we're taking inspiration, if the devs are taking some inspiration from what inspired it, that being medieval Catholicism, then having shunned same-sex relations makes sense, considering we don't know enough about about all the religions. We don't know enough about them, really. But what's very interesting is that there are a bunch of offshoots made by the devs, so I'm very, very excited for that. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Someone's saying that they're using the phrase shunned instead of criminalized because there's no evidence of anyone getting in legal trouble for same-sex stuff in the books. Not everyone knows that Loras is gay. Yeah, that's true, but it's kind of an open secret. Like, kind of everyone talks about it as like they know he is. And like no one acts on it because they're just like, oh well, he's a noble. So there's generally a sense in the books that like if a noble is gay, no one really cares because it's a noble. I mean, it's like, oh well, nobles will do what nobles will do, But it's in the peasantry. We don't really know what the attitude is in the peasantry. We don't know what the peasants think about that stuff. Someone in the chat said Loras is not gay. You're right, my apologies. I didn't mean to besmirch his reputation. Faith of the pure. So let's check out this one. The presence of the old gods and the drowned god has tainted the faithful. For when the father spoke to Hugo upon the hill, did he not say that the lands of Westeros were for the Andals and the faithful alone? Only by rejecting the contamination of these heresies and blasphemies can the faithful achieve what the Seven had planned for them. So you know how I was saying that the main faith isn't like too hardcore? This is the hardcore one. This is the like Crusader. This is the like the old gods and the drowned gods. We shouldn't be living alongside these people. They are heretics. We have to reject their heresies and blasphemies. Where is this? 22 counties worship this. Let's have a look. So like Lannisport, Starry Sept, Visenya's Hill, Gates of the Moon, Grafton, Moor's End. So even Hugo's Hill. So like specific sort of, interesting landmarks and cities. There's some pure like aggressive. So they're fundamentalist. So unlike the main faith, which is what was it? It was pluralist. Faith of pure is fundamentalist. Our faith is a one true faith. Our word is the true word. Any deviation is inherently blasphemous. One true faith. No syncretism. No cozying up with the drowned god of the old gods. So the tenet that's been added to this one, adaptive, has been changed to literalism. And that says, our holy texts clearly state divine intent. Human interpretation is of limited value. No interpreting. Okay. Yeah, so someone in the chat said the religions of A Song of Ice and Fire are weirdly creative and uncreative at the same time. Yeah, I agree. Interesting. So for this more kind of hardcore authoritarian fundamentalist interpretation of the faith, same-sex relations, which we were talking about earlier, is criminal. They've criminalized same-sex relations, and they've criminalized adultery instead of just shunning it. So it's very hardcore. So imagine if people wanted to LARP, they could play as a kind of fundamentalist, like hardcore theocrat who like launches crusades against the North and so on. Yeah, they're super orthodox. Next up, we have the Faith of the Blessed, and this is worshipped again, likewise, Highgarden, Starry Sept, Visenya Hill, kind of specific cities and landmarks. So what's this one? What's the Faith of the Blessed? Baelor the Blessed was the most devout man to ever sit the Iron Throne. It was he who commissioned the Great Sept as a new seat for the High Septon, and who led the realm to its most faithful ways. Those who follow in his footsteps would see his great works continue in the name of the Seven. Cool. So this is a sect of people who venerate Baelor the Blessed, it looks like. So they believe in mendicant preachers. Okay. Aestheticism. Yeah, so Baelor was very much kind of like, he had his fasting, and, he wore a simple crown of roses. So this is very much rejecting the pomp and ceremony and grandeur of, let's say, the Fat One, right? And instead embracing a less materialistic lifestyle, more in tune with Baelor the Blessed, more monastic. The Seven and Baelor, it says, in addition to the Seven who are one, Baelor the Blessed, the Septon King, is prayed to, holiest of mortals, in the hopes he may intercede with the Seven. So he's not worshipped as a god, he is just, this is a sect that prays to him as a kind, almost as like a prophet, right? So almost like as a Muhammad figure, perhaps, where he's not a god, he's kind of seen as a prophet, as a kind of a voice of the gods. And again, the emphasis on aestheticism and so on. It's righteous. So not fundamentalist, but yeah. Interesting. Next up, Faith of the Old and New, and here we can see a really fun symbol, that being a tree, like an old god tree within a seven-pointed star, red and black here. Seven counties. Okay, so this one, Faith of the Old and New, let's read it first. Long before the Andals came, the old gods and the weirwoods were here, yet the old gods and the new gods were not opposed, nor were they separate gods. The old gods were how the Seven who are one spoke to men before they made themselves known, and the weirwoods have always been sacred to them as well. So this is a denomination that believes that the old gods are basically just how the Seven presented themselves to the First Men. So the First Men actually worship the Seven in their weird, queer way, but they are worshipping the Seven. The old gods are the Seven, the Andals worship them properly, the Northerners worship them weirdly. So if we look, they're in 7 counties. So those counties are the Starry Sept. So it looks like it looks like every single denomination is represented in the Starry Sept, right? Because that's the Vatican, basically. Visenya's Hill, likewise. That's because that's where the Great Sept of Baelor is. So you're going to have different cults there. You've also got Harrenhal. Interestingly, Harrenhal. Maybe because it used to be ruled by the Strongs. So there's some syncretism there. The Hearthold, which is, and then Old Stones. Where was the? Oh, and of course, yeah. Sorry. So the Hearthold is, I believe, Brackenland. That doesn't make sense. I thought it would be Blackwoodland. I thought it would be Wait a minute. Let's double check this. Oh, why did I do that? I clicked off it by accident. Yeah, it's Brackenland. Okay, I don't quite know why it's in Brackenland, but yeah, there is. But yeah, but what else do we have? We have the Mandalese up here. So we have the Mandalese because they are exiles from the south, from the Manda. They full on worship Faith of the Seven, but I guess there are some within that land who worship the mixture of the old gods and the faith. And then the other one was Winterfell, maybe because the Starks and being married to Catelyn and so on. So, what do we have here? Oh, wait a sec. Bum, bum, bum. It's because of the White Harbour Sept. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, cool. So anyway, yeah, next up we have Faith of the Scourged, which has 7 counties, which is the Gates of the Moon, and then Moor's End, the end of the fingers. Interesting. What's the Faith of the Scourged? Oh, actually, let's quickly look at Faith of Old and New, what the tenets were. So, knighthood, but they also believe in the weirwoods. But they believe that the weirwoods, are linked to the old god, the 7. Sanctity of nature, of course. Yeah, so again, it's a blend. This is a blend of the old gods and the new gods. Faith of the Scourged, meanwhile, let's move on to this one. When Carlon the Great was the last king in Essos, he said he would unite all the Andals of the continent. Unfortunately, his campaigns ended in fire, but the survivors began worshipping the legend of the king of all Andals in addition to the 7 who are one, and they are worshipped. Oh, they're also worshipped in Essos. There we go, in Andalos, and in a palace in Pentos. Okay, so interesting. So in the same way that the blessed people worship the 7 and also pray to Baelor the Blessed, people here worship the 7 and also pray to Carlon the Great, the king of all the Andals, the first Andal king. So that's more of a kind of an Andalos religion, really. So they believe in armed pilgrimages and warmongering and Scourge of the Sea. So they're a lot more of a warrior culture, more of a kind of, this king protected our religion and spread it, and we want to go back. We pray to him as like the old school Andal warlord, I guess. And then we also have Faith of the Stars. We have 2 more. No one follows this apparently. This is okay. It's not. They don't control it, but they do exist in some, again, Andalos and Bravos. But the Faith of the Stars. It was to the Andals and their king, Hugor of the Hill, that the 7 who are one revealed themselves. Oh, so is this the same, but they also pray to Hugor of the Hill? Okay. It looks very similar then. It's also about being like the kind of, the Andal warrior culture and about spreading it forcefully. That's kind of how it's presented. What's the difference then with the Scourged and the... Oh, my bad. Okay, so Faith of the Stars, they look up to Hugor of the Hill, the first Andal king, whereas the Faith of the Scourged look up to the last Andal king, who wanted to unite all the Andals of the continent. Oh, I see. So the Faith of the Scourged believe in uniting all the Andals, and I guess in that way they believe in sort of... They tie their religion to their ethnicity. So they see it as the 7 is not just, the 7 is not just 7 gods that we want people to worship. It's 7 gods that are the gods of the Andals, not of all mankind, but specifically of the Andals. So they're militant and they're kind of maybe racially supremacist in some way. And the Faith of the Stars is specifically about the first king, which I think is more old school. So that's like original faith before it came to Westeros. So it even says here lay clergy. So this is like pre-septons, pre-septs and high septons and all that stuff. This is like a stripped down monastic not even monastic. This is like a stripped down, like, casual worship before it became a... This is like unorganized, basically. Faith of the Stars is like an unorganized religion almost. Let me just double check with Faith of the Scourge. Is that also lay clergy? Yes, it is. So, some people are saying that a lot of these extra additions feel a bit unnecessary, but it's for gameplay. It's to have a gameplay variety. So, Faith of the Seven and the Pure and the Blessed and Old and New is Westeros centric, and they're all under the... See, look, their head of faith is the High Septon, whereas the Faith of the Scourge and the Stars, they don't have a head of faith. Oh, sorry, the Faith of the Scourge is theocratic, but they are not under the rule of the High Septon, basically. As neither is the Faith of the Old and New, because that's kind of its own thing. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yes. You're right in the chat. People saying that this is the first version of the faith, and this one's more of a kind of warmongering supremacist one. Faith of the Axe. Let's see what this one is. This is the last one. Before coming to the hills of Andalus, the Andals are said to have originated in the lands of the Axe. Oh, for fuck's sake. Those who returned brought with them their own brand of the... Okay, so... Wait, no, so this is the OG. This is the ultimate original faith from before they came to the hills of Andalus. Okay, this is getting too confusing now. Let's move on. There are too many. Let's move on. But we've got some Westerosi and Essosi Faith of the Seven stuff. Moving on to the Faith of the First Gods. We made it... Wait, no. Those aren't the old gods. The first gods... Oh, so these are... so these are the gods worshipped by the first men, but before the first men worshipped the old gods. Because remember, the children of the forest worshipped the old gods, and after the first men had a pact with the children, then they worshipped the old gods. But when the first men first arrived at Westeros, they didn't initially worship the old gods. So this is the old gods, basically. The ancient gods. Wait, hold on a sec. Where were we? Hold on a sec. There we go. Yeah. So we start off with the gods of wave and sky. So before the arrival of the Andals, the native people of the Three Sisters worshipped their own gods. Prime amongst them, the Lady of the Waves, and her mate, the Lord of Skies. So this is the drowned god at home, basically. She is revered as a lustful and demanding goddess, whose trysts with her mate are thought to cause the storms that plague the region. Interesting. She is known to demand her followers cast those born stunted or deformed into the sea, returning them to her domains. Jesus. However, her demanding nature is not without benevolence, or love for her worshippers. Those born with the mark of webbing between their digits are rewarded with her favour freely. So this is the weird system in the Three Sisters. So that's... Yeah. Also down here, apparently. But yeah. Oh, wait, no. Oh, here. The Three Sisters. They believe in the mark. So those who have the mark, which is the webbed fingers, they're born lucky. And they're marked by the divine. And so they are favoured by the gods. But if they're born in any other way, that's considered deformed. So, like, if Tyrion were born in this religion, he'd be thrown into the sea. All faiths welcome. Interesting. All faiths and teachings are viable, they're just lesser than their own. Polygamous marriage, bastard legitimization. But adultery and same-sex relations, completely criminal. Clerical gender either. Interesting. So, those in charge of the sisters are not... They worship the faith. Yeah, they worship the faith, but there must be some people within who stick with the old ways, you know. We've done a video where we've gone through all the cultures, right? I think we've done that already. If that's ever revamped, I'll do that again. Cool. Okay, so next up we have the gods of bronze and hoof. So, the first men did not originally worship the old gods. That was after the pact between man and children. They originally worshipped their own gods much more knowable and similar to themselves. The chief of these were the gods of bronze and hoof, who led the first men to Westeros from Essos. So yeah, this is the first men before they went to Westeros and wiped out the children and worshipped the old gods. the bronze ones. The gods of the first men were manifold, reflecting their people as much as their people reflected them. Thus, that was the largest group among them. Thus, that the largest group among them were the reflections of bronze. The first men's greatest weapon is not unusual. Okay, so they worship bronze gods, basically. That's cool. And it's, again, like warmongering, unrelenting, all that stuff. So this is probably when there's a bookmark for like way back. Like if there's a bookmark which is like the first men invading Westeros and the children, then this would be the religion. The religion, I guess. So, gods of sea and wind. The gods of the first men were many and varied, but around Shipbreaker's Bay, the sea god and his wife, the goddess of the wind, are paramount. For it was their daughter, Elenai, who married Duran's god's grief, and from him the Durandans and their ilk claim descent. Okay, so they believe, so the sea god and the wind goddess had a child, Elenai, who married Duran's god's grief, who's a legendary hero from the Age of Heroes, and they created the House of Durandon. And of course, the House of Durandon intermarried with the House of Baratheon. So Bobby B and that lot are descended from gods, apparently. Gods of the Merlin Court. The Merlin King is a god worshipped in many lands and by many peoples. House Upcliff. Oh, I see. So apparently the Merlin King found his first wife, Ursula Upcliff, the Merlin Queen, and then that created the House of Upcliff that rule over, that little island in the Vale. Interesting. Oh, excuse me. And finally, we have the God of the Green. Garth the Green. So this will be the first men who moved to the Reach before the Andals arrived. Garth Greenhand. The many houses of the Reach and beyond claim descent. What some see as the first king, others see as the chief god of the first men. Oh, I see. So these are people who see Garth Greenhand as a kind of a pagan god in and of himself. That's cool. Let's move on. So those are all the old first man gods. Oh no, we've still got some more wind. The 14 Flames. Oh, this is the old Valyria gods. So this will be for a bookmark where Valyria still exists. Century of Blood type shit. So the ancient religion of the Valyrian Freehold, this faith worships the personification of the 14 volcanoes surrounding the lands of the Long Summer. That's not what I expected. Despite the worship of these gods, the Valyrians were very welcoming to other faiths and gods. Okay, no. So this is the gods of the pantheon of Valyria, basically, old Valyria. Divine marriage. By marrying close of kin, we emulate the sacred unions of the first beings in creation. Yeah, so that's the Dragon Lords marrying siblings. But that's kind of linked to the dragon blood to help them ride dragons, right? The Dragon Slayer trait is a sin, and a virtue is being pure-blooded, of a pure bloodline. That's interesting. Being ambitious and vengeful and arrogant and just are virtues in the Valyrian religion. Interesting. Cool. So, but there's an offshoot to the Valyrian religion, which is Flames of the Winged Ones. So this is the dragons of the Freehold were many things. Valued companions, beasts of war, the greatest mounts in the world. This belief has spread throughout the known world, from a tribe in the mountains of the moon to the Senrillian peoples and the tribes of the Painted Mountain. Okay, so... Oh, sorry. To many people, they're seen as divinities, fire made flesh. I missed that line out. That was kind of important. So this is basically those who worship the dragons as gods. So not the Valyrian gods, but the dragons themselves are gods. So, yeah, the 14 Flames that worship the pantheon. But here we have the gods once were amongst us, but they did not walk. They flew high above us on wings of dread and breathed flame. So worshipping dragons. That's fun. So unrelenting faith. They believe in reincarnation. I think that's the first time we've seen this tenet. God kings. Okay, cool. Worshipping gods. And it says it says here, the belief has spread from a tribe in the mountains of the moon, which is a reference to the rumours that, and some people on Dragonstone, that's fun, but the rumours that, like, Nettles and Sheepstealer fled and interacted with the Mountains of the Moon, who were like, some mountain clansmen were like, oh, you know, worshipped the dragon as a god, and that created the Burned Man tribe or something. Next up, we have the flock of the Great Shepherd. This is probably a Lazarene religion. The Great Shepherd watches over all his flock, those devoted to peace and love in his name. Yeah. So this is the peaceful people of Lazar, the Lazarene, who worship. They're known as the sheep people, and they worship the Great Shepherd. And they're pacifists and communal and all that stuff. So that's to the east of the Dothraki Sea. Scions of the Harpy. So now we're going to Slaver's Bay. So that's here. Shout out to my Battle of Fire video. Here is Slaver's Bay. Since the time of Grazdan the Great, it was the Harpy that watched over and protected the Empire and the Giscari. Even after the fall of the Empire and Gis itself, the Harpy still stands over the people. So the myriad gods of this Giscari people. Gods of Gis. The old gods of Gis were venerable before the freehold was even a thought. The Octarchs preached and led from the Eight Heights, guiding the old empire to greatness after Grazdan. Someone said, I don't know if you figured it out, but not every religion is available in the other faith screen before being revived. I didn't know that. So there are even more religions potentially. Okay. So Signs of the Harpy, they believe in carnal exaltation. That makes sense when you look at Yunkai, how they breed bed slaves and kind of celebrate that. Ecclesiarchy. So holy sites are not just sacred places, they're the seats of power for religious leaders. Slavery, their virtues are like, being callous, being lustful. There we go. And then Scions of the Lady of the Spears. One of the lesser goddesses of Gis, the Lady of the Spears has been largely embraced by the Unsullied. The patron and protector of the Unsullied. So a lesser Giscari god worshipped by the Unsullied because she's the Lady of Spears. Is this canon? It's a cool idea, don't get me wrong. Is it canon though? Yes, it is. The great goddess of the Unsullied, known as Lady of Spears, Bride of Battle, Mother of Hosts. According to Grey Worm, her true name belongs only to those who have burned their man. Okay. It doesn't necessarily say here that it's a Giscari goddess, but they've made a Giscari goddess here. Because the Unsullied are bred in Astapor. Oh, guys, we've made it. We've made it to the second best religion. R'hllor. The Lord of Light, the Flaming Heart, and it's followed in 57 counties, so we can see R'hllor spreading throughout Essos, and in the books it begins to spread throughout Westeros during the chaos of war. The worship of R'hllor, the Lord of Light and Heart of Fire, has spread across Essos, and its devotees can be found in every free city. Worshippers gather around fires, hoping to be granted visions by their lord. The sect is led by the High Priest in Volantis. So in the books, the High Priest is Benero, who preaches from a white podium about, Azor Ahai and so on. And his second in command is Mokoro, the Black Flame, who's sent to meet Daenerys. We know from the books that they have red priests and priestesses. They see in the flames, visions in the flames. They also sacrifice people by burning them. They love fire and warmth and so on, and they're scared of dark and the shadows and cold and, R'hllorism spreading at a time when a long night is about to take hold of Westeros is very interesting. So, their tenets are anarchanism. So, the worship of graven images has blinded far too many to the divine truth. We will cast all icons out of our holy places. So, I guess this is the opposite of okay. So no icon. So there are no icons and no idols. You just worship the flames. You don't need any statues, just flames. Okay. Ecclesiarchy, the religious leaders rule from holy sites, like the temple in Volantis. A human sacrifice, they literally burn people to death as a sacrifice to R'hllor. The Heart of Fire, through blessed fire in a language of ash and cinder and twisting flame, R'hllor speaks to the faithful, so that's the visions. And healing flames. Life is warmth and warmth is fire. It is only through the flames of R'hllor that life can truly exist. So this is the idea of the flames being healing. So that links into the idea of both resurrecting people, like Beric Dondarrion and Catelyn Stark, but also healing wounds, like when Mokoro heals the infected sliced hand of Victorian Greyjoy and it becomes this smoking volcanic fist. Yeah, that's cool. The sins of R'hllorism are arrogance, contentedness, and being forgiving. So you can't be content, you can't be forgiving, but you can't be arrogant. You have to be modest, humble. One of the virtues is humble. Being ambitious and being vengeful. Okay. R'hllor is the heart of fire, the lord of light, the god of flame and shadow. It is he who fights the great other and led Azor Ahai to save the world in the long night after the blood betrayal. So this is all like the Essos interpretation of the long night. They believe it's the only true faith. They believe that it's completely fundamentalist. Any deviation from the Azorian prophecies is inherently blasphemous. Yeah, and non-believers are to be burnt at the stake. It does, however, believe in equality between the sexes. It is foolish to deny skilled people a role in government purely because of their gender. This is probably based on the fact that we know that Melisandre is a red priestess. And from what we can tell, priests and priestesses seem to have the same level of power. So, marriage type, concubines. Okay, so, but here we have some interesting offshoots of the faith of R'hllor. The heart of smoke and shadow. Interesting. The worship of R'hllor in the further east is centered around Ashai and the ancient prophecies of the rebirth of Azor Ahai. This branch of the Heart of Fire incorporates darker aspects of Ashai itself and the Shadowbinders. So this is R'hllorism specifically from Ashai, so it's darker and weirder and more esoteric and more about the Shadowbinders. AKA, we know nothing about it because we're never going to know anything about Ashai. It literally says here, one of the tenets compared to regular R'hllorism is esotericism. So great mysteries of the divine. We have to seek knowledge and understanding, and also faith and reason. Okay. So the Ashai edition, and then we have the Heart of Fire and Blade. And there's probably like a Westerosi version of R'hllorism, maybe, with Stannis. Heart of Fire and Blade. In the Bone Mountains, Azor Ahai is known as Hyakun the hero. It is from him that the patrimony of Hyakun was born, and from him that the great fathers and the warrior women of the last 3 city bastions descend. They understand the price of war and will meet it with fire and blade, with rubies and iron. Okay, cool. So basically, R'hllorism in the Bone Mountains, where they have their own interpretation of Azor Ahai. Cool. And they're more pluralist because they're sort of... Chthonic readouts. There is no shelter better than the roots of earth. Okay, so just a... Yeah. Alright, so moving on from the Lord of Light, from R'hllorism itself, we have... Carthene religion. How many more do we have? I need to do a speed run. Oh my god, there's so many. I need to do a speed run. I've been going for a long time and I'm really hungry. So where were we? Yes, the House of the Undying. It does have to be noted how absurd it is that Stannis has any level of support claiming to be the king and being like, by the way, I worship a completely foreign religion. Like, it just... Yeah. And so, yeah, someone in the chat has pointed out that R'hllorism is quite inspired by Zoroastrianism. Okay. Which is, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so the House of the Undying. Deep within the House of the Undying, the warlocks of Karth practice their dark arts and create the shade of the evening from the black-barked trees. From here, the Undying Ones lead the Order in their efforts. Okay, so this is kind of like a cult that worshippers the Undying Ones, who are the old, potentially immortal warlocks in Karth. Okay, so this is basically the warlocks of Karth. I'm not sure if that would be considered a religion in the books, but they've made it religion in the game. I believe in Stanism. Okay, so House of the Undying, yeah, there's no idols, worshipping ancestors, sacred lies. Lying is the most profound art in existence. Black bark trees, so that's all about the shade of the evening, prophetic stuff, and then slavery. Okay, and then the other offshoots are House of the Enthroned. The Carthene claim to be the oldest and most civilized people in the world, worship their own culture and legacy the same way the Westerosi worship the Seven. The worship is especially paramount among the pureborn, who view themselves as the curators and judges of civilization and propriety. Okay, so this is basically worshipping the city of Karth itself and their ancestors as like a beautiful city, the peak of civilization. Also viewing it as the pureborn being the natural inheritors of Karth. So, yeah. Civilization is the greatest pursuit of man, and the greatest civilization is Karth. That pursuit and its protection is a divine and sacred undertaking that the pureborn continue to this day. Interesting. House of the Memories. The common people of Karth flow in the steps of the Enthroned and the Undying, but their worship is more for the memory of when the Karthi people were not confined to Karth. Okay, so they still, like, worship the city in its past, and they exalt the Undying ones and the Warlocks of Karth, but the more common ones kind of worship like the past of Karth when it was more of an empire. Interesting. The Carthene remember the days before the Red Waste, before the Dothraki. Cool. Moving on from Karth, we have the 100 Gods of the Silver Sea. The 100 gods once lived within the world, and it was their voices, the Fisher Queens, who led the peoples of the world to prosperity. But since the long night and the death of the last Fisher Queen, the 100 gods have left the world, and it's now the followers of the liturgies who keep the faith in preparation. The 100 gods. And the Fisher Queens. Huh, what's all this then? What's this a reference to? Okay, so the Fisher Queens were a legendary dynasty in Essos. Yeah, by the Silver Sea. One of the first civilizations. They were favoured of the gods. Interesting. So that's just an ancient Essosi religion. Since the long night and the death of the last Fisher Queen, the 100 gods have left the world, and it's now the followers of the liturgies who keep the faith. So it's just like people who continue to worship this really, really old religion post Long Night. Okay. The Order of Eternal Paradise. Faith of the Orders. So I think we've reached the Summer Islanders, I believe. So the Summer Islands are... Where are they? Move you there. They're here, right? Yeah, the Summer Islands are here. So Order of the Eternal Paradise. Amongst the southern islands of the Jade Sea and the Cinnamon Straits, the peoples of those lands worship more than gods. They worship ideals and concepts. One such ideal is the eternal cycle, which teaches that the pleasures of the world are the true gateway to salvation, releasing people from the eternal cycle that binds them to the world. I believe this is meant to be, right? This is meant to be the Summer Isles. So they believe in the eternal cycle. To escape the world, one must break the mind with pleasures. My goodness. Female dominated. Interesting. They accept adultery and same-sex relations. Their virtues are lustfulness, greed, and gregariousness. Carnal exaltation, pleasure of the flesh. Interesting. So again, this is kind of based on what we know of Summer Islander culture, which part of it involves a kind of celebration of sex and sex acts and passion and pleasure and all that stuff. Is this meant to be? Is this the Summer Islands? It feels like... Yes, someone's pointing out that like it's saying it has the chains and whips tenet, which is associated with slavery. The Summer Islands don't engage in slavery. So this, what is this meant to be then? What is this a reference to? This isn't the Summer Isles. What is it then? Order of the Final Sting. Among the southern islands of the Jade Sea and the Cinnamon Straits, the people of those lands worship more than just gods. They worship, yeah, blah, blah, blah. One such ideal is the lethal bug, a vengeful belief centered on assassination and plots, seen as the gift of release from the world. What the fuck? To escape the world, one must kill all others. What? Is that a thing? The lethal bug. I'm going crazy. What the hell? The Order of Flowing Spice. Among the southern islands of the Jade Sea, blah, blah, blah. One of their ideals is a flowing spice, the consumption of a holy spice said to grant people understanding and insight into the future and the nature of space. I mean, that's just a reference to... That's just a reference to Dune. That's just a reference to the spice, the melange. Yeah. The flowing spice. Yeah, this isn't some isles. This is just... Yeah, someone commented, this is like... Ah, yes, you're right. It's in the east. Wait, did it say... The Jade Sea. The Jade Sea. Yeah, no, this is like islands to the south of the Far East. So not the Summer Isles. This is just kind of some like a weird bunch of kind of hedonistic, horny religions. Okay, my bad. I suspect they're all probably references to different things. So, like the lethal bug, I don't know what that's a reference to, but flowing spice is clearly a Dune reference. Order of the Stone Crow. Just as a stone crow gives milk from stone, the stone crow. To escape the world, one must make milk from stone. What the fuck? I'm going to type in stone crow and milk and see what happens. Fight milk from Always Sunny. What the fuck? And then the Order of Chained Scars. The chained one. The only way to escape the world is to wholly debase oneself through becoming a slave. So this is a religion where you become a slave and you worship that. To escape the world, one must be chained within it. Okay, I think this is just meant to be a bunch of like extra weird culty religions in the East that kind of like just kind of like extra stuff, like extra flavor religions almost. Huh. Okay, well, let's move on then. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's move on to... I went too far down. Okay, now we're moving on to the old gods. Okay, what's this? Oh yeah, the old gods. So we've made it to the north of Westeros and beyond. So we all know the old gods. The old gods of winter and wood. Ah. Oh, so it looks like there are different kind of old god worship depending on where you are. So the old gods of winter and wood. The worship of the old gods has persisted in the north more than any other part of the Seven Kingdoms. It's a simple one, much more personal than that of the faith of the Seven. There are a few commandments and no scriptures. How one honours the gods is a personal matter. The key tenets are the sacredness of the weirwoods, the sanctity of guest right, and the holiness of oaths sworn before the heart tree. Okay, so this is just the classic first men worshipping the trees. So they believe in hospitality, the sanctity of nature. They believe that the old gods commune through the weirwood trees. They have green sight, right? Prophetic visions. Their main doctrine's faith syncretism, so they kind of, you know, that they're willing to live alongside those who worship the faith of the Seven. Cool. But next up we have the old gods of frost and forest. And, so this stuff is mostly north of the wall, it appears. Beyond the wall, in the true north, can one truly converse with and feel the old gods. South of the wall, the land has become too cultivated, too deforested, too civilized. So you have the classic northerners, and then you have the wildlings. So like the wildlings in the frosty forests of the north, like we worship the true gods. We're the old way. And so the difference is they support human sacrifice, and they're warmongering, so they're more aggressive. And they believe the first gods are other gods of the pantheon. Interesting. So they also worship the old gods of the first man. Okay, cool. Old gods of snow and ice. So these are wildlings not in the forests, but in the icy lakes and so on, I guess. The icy so in the frozen places beyond the wall, their followers do not listen for the gods in the whispers of streams or the rustling in leaves, but in the cracking of ice. So again, primitivist, human sacrifice. We have the old gods of sea and shell. So this is the coast. This is the coast beyond the wall. They're tuned towards the sea, so that they worship the trees, but maybe they kind of there's some gods of the sea that they worship because they spend time by the sea. Gods of peak and valley. That's the Thens. Okay. Excuse me. So the Thens claim to be the only true first men left. They assert they're the only ones who preserve the pact and worship the old gods correctly. The Magnar is viewed as being alongside the old gods, simply one made of flesh. So yeah, they're ruled by the Magnar of the Thens, who is, as it says here, they have the God King tenet. So they're like, the Magnar is a god made flesh. Yeah. The old gods are uncountable and unknowable, except one who walks the world in flesh, the Magnar. Let's check our boy out. Magnar Steer of the Thens. There we are. So that's the old gods of Pika Valley. We also have the old gods of Darken Cave. So the Pact of the Faces. Oh, sorry. The Pact. Blah blah blah. Oh, it doesn't. This one's okay. That's just a generic description. So these. Oh, I see. These are the first men who hide in dark caves and commit cannibalism. Okay, yeah. It says here. Ritual cannibalism. Mankind is blessed to have been bestowed with the spark of the divine. Human flesh is therefore sacred. Okay, so these are the cannibalistic wildlings. They've really broken down the various different faiths deeper than I thought they would actually. And then old gods of the song. And the symbol here is like a green tree, so I think that, yeah. Men called them the children of the forest. The giants speak of the Wardak Nagagram, but they name themselves those who sing the song of the earth. It is from that song that the understanding and worship of the old gods of forest of winter, rivers and hill, moon and vale, rock and gold, field and grove, storm and wave, dune and sand, everywhere is truly done. So essentially this is, their virtues are like wise man, green sight. So this is basically the children of the forest. This is their faith. This is like the purest, oldest form of old gods worship, is the children of the forest worship, the song. But then we also have old gods of mountain and stone, which is those who refuse to abandon the old gods and bow to the Andal kings of House Aaron, fled to the heights and wilderness of the mountains of the moon. Okay, so these are the excuse me. These are the mountain clansmen in the Vale who still worship the old gods. Cool. So it does make you think, actually, when you looked at, when it said, moon and vale, rock and gold, field and grove, storm and wave, dune and sand, smoke and snow and ice. This is referencing the different regions of Westeros. Maybe you can convert, you can be Dornish and worship the old gods, and then it's then you worship the old gods of dune and sand. That's cool. Okay, now we've done all the old gods, and now we're moving on to the faith of the Shanties. We're nearly finished. The faith of the Shanties. Starting off with the the Skull Shanty. Yeah, what is this? The Basilisk Isles. Okay, so the Basilisk Isles are the islands to the north of Sophorius. So these isles, I believe, are the Basilisk Isles. To the north of this continent, the Dark Continent. Among the Basilisk Isles and lands of Sophorios, written records of kingdoms, peoples, and even religions are not found. But great shanties unite and bind the different peoples, even those not native to the southern continent, together. These shanties take on almost philosophical and religious guidance, often having verses of requirements or desire. Oh, cool! So there's a religion where it's like there's a holiness to the sea shanties that they sing. That's really cool. So one such shanty, known as the Skull Shanty, has corsairs and other people bring the skulls of those who they have killed to Skull Isle. Oh, I see. So what they're doing is, yeah, it's pirate religion, basically. Because the Basilisk Isles are known for having corsairs and pirates, it's a pirate religion. They have, like, holy shanties. I don't think that's law in World of Ice and Fire, but holy shanties, it's fucking based. So whatever Dev came up with that's amazing. And it looks like they have a different sect for each island. So let me look up the Basilisk Isles for a sec. Yeah, they are teamed with escaped slaves, slavers, skinners, whores, hunters, brindled men, and worse, all kind of creatures. There's the Isle of Tears, the Isle of Toads, the Isle of Flies, Skull Isle, Axe Isle, Talon, Howling Mountain, etc. So there's Skull Isle has this. Toad Isle, they have created the Toad Shanty. So among the Basilisk Isles, oh yeah, blah blah blah, we have the Toad Shanty worships a great toad statue made of oily black stone. Cool. The Brindle Shanty dictates the actions of the coastal peoples of Sothorios. So this is basically the religion of the brindled men, I guess, who are like a kind of a hairy people. The Black Shanty. What's this one then? Oh, I see. Leads the Sothori in worship of Yin, the great the great deserted city of Sothorios. The city, made of an oily black stone, remains untouched by the consuming jungle. So there's an oily black stone, an abandoned city called Yin. I don't know if it's abandoned, but it's very creepy. So this is the religion of Yin. Okay, they're even preparing for filling out Sothorios in the future. That's kind of crazy. And then the Green Shanty is the deep jungle. Okay, so this isn't just the Basilisk Isles. This is Basilisk and the north of Sothorios. So this is the jungles. In the deep jungles of the Green Hell, where nature is anathema to humans, diseases are common and incurable, and where mankind is no longer the apex predator, natives believe that life must continue no matter the cost. Cool. Well, that's all that stuff. We have yet to have Summer Islander and Ironborn religions, so let's see what's next. And now Faith of the Songs. So we had Faith of Shanties, now we have Faith of Songs. Let's see what this is. Song of the Moon. Oh, the Jogos Nai. Okay, so the Jogos Nai are, let's just double check. Really interesting, the Jogos Nai. The Bone Mountains. The east of the Bone Mountains. The Plains of Jogos Nai. Whereabouts is that? Well, yeah, but long story short, it's just somewhere in Essos. They're kind of like the other Dothraki. They're another nomadic people. They're shorter than a Dothraki. And they have pointed skulls. Quite interesting. And they ride Zorses. They ride Zorses. Okay, so moon singers must dress and live as women, and warriors dress and live as men, but you don't have to be a man or a woman to fulfill those roles, interestingly, with the Jogos Nai. If you want to be a moon singer, which is like, I think the priestesses, I guess, then you can be a boy who does it, but you have to dress up in that way. And if you want to be a female warrior, you can, but you have to dress masculinely. Masculinely, that's not a word. What do we have here? The Songs of the Moon. Yes, so the Jogos Nai have been a scourge on the plains of north of Yeti since the earliest records of the Golden Empire. Their spiritual leaders have been the Moon Singers. They listen to the Song of the Moon and provide spiritual leadership and guidance. Okay, cool. So unrelenting faith, warmongers, sacrifice, holy bonds. Moon and stars. Cool. Disciples of the Moon Singers. What's the difference with this one? Jogos Nye Moonsingers led a party of escaped slaves to the lagoon that would become Bravos. So the disciples of the Moonsingers are former Valyrian slaves who fled to Bravos. Songs of the Beneath. Nefer, the last of the Ngai, has been able to hold back the hordes of Jogos Nye by retreating into the earth itself, where the Song of the Beneath has sheltered and warmed the inhabitants. By listening to the rhythm and beat of the earthen walls that surround them, they've expanded deep within the earth. Huh. Interesting. And then the Songs of the Snow. This is Mossavi. Okay. The far-off land of Mossavi is said to be a strange and peculiar place. Locked in cold and snow, basically Moscow. Locked in cold and snow, the Mossavites embrace and prosper in this frozen realm. To them, the snows and blizzards sing a song. Okay, so Mossavi is somewhere all the way over here somewhere. Let's see if we can actually find it. Far Mossavi. Oh, Mossavi is like beyond even Yeti. Mossavi doesn't even begin. Like, Mossavi is like somewhere over here. A big ass continent, goddamn. Okay, what's next? We're finishing up here, ladies and gentlemen. Temples of Summer and Love. There we go. We made it. We found the Iron Islands. Sorry, not the Iron Islands. The Summer Isles. My bad. I apologize for getting them mixed up with the other people. So, the faith of the Summer Islands is centered around a great pantheon of deities, often associated with summer, love, and passion. These deities watch over the people of the islands as a whole, giving dictates to ensure that wars are kept as sacred challenges, that slavers are driven away, and that love is extended to all. We can't see your mouse. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you can see my mouse or not. So yeah, that's down here. Where are they? Yeah, the Summer Islands are here. And they're all about love and freedom, man. Yeah, the summer gods, summer, passion, love. So a carnal exaltation, of course. Lust, diligence, bravery, compassion. They accept same-sex relations and adultery and like... female-led clerical stuff. Interesting. Priestesses. So yeah, this is the hippie faith. Yeah, you're right in the chat. This is the whole kind of free love, like making love is a religious act in and of itself. Oh my god, I have not been clicking on the patron aspects all this time. I've been missing out on an entire thing. Look, they have Tolak, Kunda, Itaya, goddess of fertility, goddess of knowledge. Oh no, fellas. I mean, the aspects are there, but what about something a bit more... Hold on. Alright, hold on. Okay, to be in my defense, a lot of these don't have patron aspects, but we do have... Okay, we missed out on a few of them. Ruh-roh. Oh, well, this has been going on for long enough. Let's move on. So, we're nearly done. We have the Veneration of the God King. What's this one? Oh, the God King of Ib has returned and once again leads the Ibbenese in proper ways to master the world. Okay. So this is the Ibbenese. Lord of Stone and Sound is the true god of the Ibbenese. Pequod, what the hell? The greatest creatures are the massive leviathans. Oh, so the Ibbenese whalers up here somewhere. Up here, right? There's a God King, a Lord of Stone and Sound. Interesting. The problem is God King is such a fun idea. You can't overdo it. You can't have constant God Kings and God Emperors everywhere. Veneration of the Sound. The Ibbenese are a strange people. Oh, I see. Where once they had a God King to worship. That's an old school thing. Now they give credence to a belief they call the Sound. The Sound is the natural harmonization of the world and all that makes it up. From the waves upon the shore to winds upon the mountains. So no longer do they believe in a God King. They believe in the sounds of the sea. The rhythm of the waves, the beat of swells. Interesting. Yeah, the sea dwarves. You're right. That's what the Ibbenese are. Just the sea. They are short, squat, hairy whalers. Okay, we can skip this one because it's kind of boring. Let's move on to the Faith of the Eight. Oh wait, no, that's kind of linked in. Yeah, all this stuff is boring. No, I'm joking. Of course, we're going to talk about the Ironborn. We made it to the Way of the Drowned God. So, what do we have over here? Oh, there we go. Naggers Hill, Lonely Light Pike, the Iron Islands. So, the Way of the Drowned God. The Drowned God is the god of the Iron Men, having persisted through the pact of the old gods and the faith of the Andals. The religion reveres the dead god, with practitioners hoping to join him in his underwater halls. For what is dead may never die, but rises again harder and stronger. So they believe in a drowned god beneath the waves in his watery halls, and they're opposed to the storm god, which is the evil god that creates storms and sinks ships. So unrelenting faith, strong convictions, astrology, the mysteries of the world in the sky. The old way, the Grey King, most blessed in the eyes of the drowned god, laid out the proper ways for a man to make their way in the world. Some now follow the new ways of the new gods, but it's only from the old way. So this is the idea that the old ways of the Ironborn, reaving and raping and stealing, etc., you know, the Iron Price, that stuff is intrinsic to the faith. Hell yeah. What are the sins of the drowned god? Being calm is a sin. Being craven is a sin. Being content is a sin. What's virtuous? Being angry. Being callous and being brave, of course. They're fundamentalists. They're male-dominated. It's the one true faith. Goddamn. Marriage type, yeah, they allow concubines because, you know, they have salt wives and rock wives. And they accept thralls, which is a specific form of slavery. I love how deviancy is shunned, but not, like, criminalized. They're like, don't be a deviant, but if you are, fine, we'll just be annoyed with you. Cool. But we have a couple more. We have the Faith of the Eight. So this is interesting. This was founded by Harmond Hoare, who attempted to merge the way of the drowned god with the faith of the Seven. So this is a historical thing, but I think you can bring it back in the game. The drowned god was said to be simply another aspect of the divine one. So basically, you worship the Seven, but there's an eighth god, which is the drowned god. Some people theorize that Victarion is going to have his own Faith of the Eight, but instead of... Sorry, no, not Faith of the Eight. He's going to have his own syncretism where he merges the drowned god faith with the Lord of Light faith. Where the drowned god and the Lord of Light are the same, and then the storm god and the great other are also the same. So, yeah. So that's the ultimate syncretism, yeah. And in doing so, because they accept the faith, they also accept knighthood. So it's a very bizarre interpretation of the faith of the Seven. And look, the patron aspects are all of these and also the drowned god. But there's another one. So as I've said, you have the drowned god, and then their version of devil, Satan, is the storm god, because obviously the storms sink people. But what if, you know, if a god exists, some people are going to worship it. Here it says, the way of the storm god is the practice of worshipping the storm god, the eternal enemy. So this is the equivalent of, like, Satanists. These are like, I'm going to be edgy and I'm going to worship the storm god. And they believe in human sacrifice. Yeah, I don't know if it's ever mentioned in the books that anyone specifically worships the storm god, but if a god exists, some people go... If some kind of being like that exists, some people are going to worship it, right? So, yeah. He who dwells above the skies in his cloudy halls. Kind of a Zeus figure. Again, they're also one true faith and so on. Sacrifice is interesting. Oh, and they seem to be more hardcore in terms of criminalizing things. Goddamn. Okay, and then finally we have the cold gods of Everwinter. This is essentially worshipping the others, worshipping the old gods. So potentially that's what Craster is up to. Why the fuck is that in Winterfell? That's terrifying. So, while others worship nature, gods from the heavens, or even hearts of fire, those who have felt the true chill of winter know that the only true gods are the cold gods of Everwinter, who will one day march south again, bringing the long night once more. So, worshipping the long night. So let's have a look. Unrelenting faith. And they sanction false conversion, so you're allowed to lie, to infiltrate. Of course I worship the old gods. I don't worship the others. Human sacrifice. Maybe even sacrificing babies to the others. You know what I mean? Yeah, apparently Craster worships this in-game. I'll check that in a second. A land of always winter. Interesting. And then the ever-growing armies. The armies of the others are the dead themselves. I think this is also the religion, because every person needs a religion, this is the religion that comes with the White Walkers. So when they inevitably make the Game of Thrones timeline bookmark and they include the White Walkers, this will be their religion, I guess. God, I can't wait. Cool. So yeah, fundamentalists, one true faith, the others White Walkers, cold shadows. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, why are the others homophobic? What the hell? Same-sex relations criminal? You're the undead, why do you care? Yeah, and yeah, I believe, as someone said, Craster, it is Craster, who, he's the only one who worships the cold gods. Well, there we have it. We've made it through. It only took us, how long? 3 hours, but we've made it through every single religion that was part of the update. So before I wrap up, I'm going to finish any super chats and donations, and I'll give you a brief update about where the channel's going. Now that we had the Battle of Fire video and the April Fools and the Gliders video and all that fun stuff. Thank you for the super chat from the Autistic Goldfish, who said, "What do you think will happen to the Winds of Winter and the Dream of Spring if George R. R. Martin passes away?" So that's a legal question I don't really know the answer to. I don't know, legally, do the publishers, if the publishers are able to, then they will try to profit off of what he's written, and they will either get someone else to finish it, or they will release an unfinished draft and be like, this is the Winds of Winter, what currently exists of it. They might release what exists of Blood and Fire, the sequel to Fire and Blood. But maybe legally they can't do that. Maybe they don't technically own it if it's never submitted. So George R. R. Martin has said before that he wants his notes to be burned, but he also, he's known to change his mind, so maybe not. I don't know. I don't quite buy that another author will come in and carry it on. I can't think of who that would be. There's no other author that makes me go, oh yes, this person would be perfect for Martin's style. So I just don't know. I'd like to hope that we in some way see what has been written, if we never get it any other way. And let me check, did blah 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 super chats? Let me just check if I've got any donations. I don't want to miss out on donations. I don't want someone to have sent something and I never read it out. There we go. We're all good. Okay. So, yes, the Gliders video was lots of fun. Battle of Fire video was a bastard. I did a couple of all-nighters for that one, but it turned out great if you ignore missing invisible Grey Worm. But hey, I've done the Battle of Ice and the Battle of Steel and the Battle of Fire, so I'm sure you can guess what the next big battle theory video is going to be on the channel. It's going to be the Battle of Blood. But before we jump into the Battle of Blood, I'd like to do another book versus show comparison. So I did The Real Barristan Selmy before I did the Battle of Fire, and likewise before I do the Battle of Blood. I don't know, maybe The Real Euron Greyjoy would be a good video? Perhaps. That sounds good. Okay, oh, and I'll be doing, obviously, I need to finish off that live stream series with Quinn where we're ranking Game of Thrones nicknames and epithets. And I also need to do a Battle of Fire live stream like I always do, where I kind of break down the video I've made. Break down the Battle of Fire a bit. Okay, let's wrap up. Love you all. Take care. More stuff will be coming out on the channel. Lots of fun.